up, Justin?
Hey, gents. Hey, we got Breadman in here. Why doesn't he ever speak? We need more people jumping up here with us. I'm gonna send this out
Breadman?
to try to get some people on here.
Yeah, send it out. Um, we'll get Tomer up here and Puncher. Puncher, are you in a place where you can talk? Yeah. Hang on. Sorry, we're just trying to do the housekeeping of getting everybody up on stage. Uh, Let me send you an invite to co-host, Puncher. I know Tomer doesn't like to. How are you, Tomer?
Oh, I'm good. It's another nice day here. So it's snowing and it's freezing, but that didn't
Yeah,
stop me from going out in
you're
my
part of
shorts
the
earlier.
whole isn't there like some Arctic cold front like across a giant chunk of the interior of some of Canada and the US right now? So I think even Chicago they were freezing.
It's winter time.
It's
I don't pay
Canada.
attention. I look at the weather app for 1 second in the morning and I see is it going to be really cold or not, and then I actually go outside to see what the
And
difference
you
is
go,
because
"Oh yeah,
I've got a
it's
dog
cold."
who wants to go out always. So
Oh yeah. Me too, but it's a lot nicer to go out when it's 72 degrees and not
yeah,
minus.
it really is interesting. To me, the main factor is the wind. If you've got a strong wind and the temperature's mild, it can be a lot worse than if you've got no wind at all, and the temperature's cold. So, like, I've we're we're getting a dusting of snow right now. It's falling, and it is, I don't know it in Fahrenheit, but it's just below freezing. It's like 8 or 9 degrees below 0 Celsius. And I was out in my shorts with my T-shirt because I didn't have my jacket handy, and my dog wanted to go in the backyard. It was really pleasant. I mean, I wouldn't stay out there
You
for
are
an
a
hour in
typical
this weather.
Canadian. I seriously, when I did all my high school and stuff up in northern British Columbia, and I had classmates that would go year round in shorts through 30 below and a couple feet of snow. It's hilarious.
Uh, it's really all in
No,
your head, and in my head, it
well,
is that if it's
it's
not
within
windy, it's fine.
my head has something wrong with it because I don't like extremes on either end. Like right now, it gets a little too hot where I'm at. It's over 100 in the summers often, and I'm not a huge fan, but then I don't miss the 30 below weather from Canada either. So,
Listen, 30 below is no picnic, no matter even no matter what you're wearing. But
yeah,
uh, but even ten below is no big deal, no big deal. And zero is kind of nice too. And I find it feels colder when it's 10 degrees out than when it's minus 10 degrees out. I can't quite wrap my head around why that is, but it's all that's why I say it's all in your head.
nice. Dark side, how are you today, sir?
Doing good, brother. Doing good.
Very nice. Hey, I was gonna throw something out. I forgot. I wanted to just throw it out. You got a hot mic. Puncher, buddy, it's you. How are you?
Hey, bud, can you
Yeah, we
shoot?
were getting feedback from your hot mic, but yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm going to drop down, Lauren, if you can hear me. I'm not getting a good signal here.
Okay, we will recycle you. Hey, we had a meeting with our local meetup folks, and we're talking about things we could do, and we've tried events in the past, blah de blah. So I was doing just a little research because I was thinking nonprofit might be a way to go, and then I've looked around and noticed that there's other Bitcoin meetup groups that have actually went that path. There's the Bay, actually both bays, San Francisco Bay and Florida, Tampa Bitcoiners have also created nonprofits, which is good because in the past when we've hosted events, we've had to come out of pocket on a lot of the expenses. So I don't know if other people have tried to go that route, but it's a topic that I wanted to hopefully throw out there just to maybe get it out into the Bitcoin ecosystem to pick people's brains. I did talk to the Tampa guys and sounds like they've done a lot of the work so we could cookie cutter this thing instead of trying to have to do all the legwork on our own.
What is
Anybody
the
else?
benefit of that, Lauren? Just the
Um,
accounting, or you can get
there's a
donations?
lot. Yeah, for sure. All the above, I think. We did even a beef initiative with Slim here, and everybody ended up having to go out of pocket on it. So that was just the out of pocket thing is big. the whole process, I think even if we did fundraising events, could actually be positive opportunities to not only hang out together, but also to spread the Bitcoin love. So to me, it was all a bunch of positives, and then we could do a multi-sig thing where, our board or whatever had to each, 2 out of the 3 or 3 out of the 5 or whatever, however we set it up, would have to agree before we actually spent money out of that. Because there's a lot of ideas we have, but it always ends up, taking resources. So, not only that, like we're thinking mostly educational stuff, but I see some of these other people are actually doing community service and other things. And in doing so, you can be, wearing Bitcoin stuff and talking Bitcoin, but you're also hanging out with other Bitcoiners. So to me, it just seems like a really positive way. Because in the past, we just get together and drink beer and eat pizza and stuff like that. But that's all good and fun. But, to actually make positive headwinds in our community, I think we need to maybe take a slightly different approach. Puncher, I think you're back.
Yes, sir. How are you? Sorry, I was in a bad spot there.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny. We're all about decentralization as Bitcoiners, and to some extent, centralization sometimes is the best way to do things. For example, planning uh, a get together in Vegas, right? It, it's it's it comes down to a handful of people that is a centralizing force that would do the actual work and plan. And if you have like 80 people on a space all just throwing out ideas, while that is decentralized, nothing ever gets done, right? So it's interesting. In the money, and you want it decentralized. And Bitcoin, obviously, you don't want it centralized. But in something like a planning initiative, where somebody actually has to do work and get things done, and you need it centralized. It's
100%.
interesting.
Yeah, and honestly, a lot of the work from those few people really goes unnoticed, which is fine because a lot of those folks usually are givers and they don't need the pat on the back or their ego stroked anyway. Um, for example, the last Pacific Bitcoin, which was 2 years ago now, people were like, "Oh yeah, we just all ended up on this roof at this, blah 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 blah," but it actually was a planned event by 1 or 2 people, and then it just kind of grew from there. But it actually started way earlier in the day where people were like, "Hey, we don't want this to end. We want something to go on." And it started with one person and it spread to two, and then from there it grew into this thing. But the people that attended didn't realize it was actually a few people that actually put that whole thing together, called ahead, made sure that that place could accommodate 50 people, etc. So 100% puncher. And I think one of the things we're talking about specifically in Vegas is, well, I don't know. We touched on it in that meeting we had last night, but it's difficult when you do have a barrage of so many ideas and then basically starting from scratch when what we thought we were going to be doing kind of got rugged or eroded away. So then we're just kind of starting from scratch with all new ideas and all new everything. So I think we're on the right path now, at least, just because we just want to get together, hang out, have a great time, and that's the main thrust of it all. So I'm
And Lauren, don't
excited to
forget
see everybody. Yeah.
permission. We've received permission. So
We got signed off on,
yep.
so we're good to go. All permissions have been granted. So maybe we'll just wait for the permit to come in the mail to with that signature on it. So we'll be good. That was sarcasm for those of you who were unable to pick up on it. Sarcasm is my love language. So yeah,
Dripping with sarcasm.
dripping. Yeah, get some more speakers up here. And Asteroid, I think you were listening in to the other presentation and said it was pretty good. Vegas Huddle is in here too. I don't know. You're probably working, but there's another foot soldier in Vegas Huddle. He's volunteered to do anything. Also, Dark, if you need a hand out there trying to figure out venue things or anything like that, he's volunteered. He said their group, there's a Vegas meetup group, was probably going to do something, and then when they heard all the other side events, they said maybe we'll just hold off and just try to hang out with the people that are coming into town to do stuff. I think he's the one that also mentioned there's other poker tourneys going on associated with either the conference itself or Bitcoin folks coming into town. So I'm assuming they're mostly like those charity um, tournament things, which I'm not a huge fan of personally. I don't like playing in those. But that's another contact. He's the sphere down there with the eyeballs on it.
Yeah, I
And
just reached out to him.
oh, cool.
We'll
Yeah,
hook up
yeah.
after.
Nice, nice, nice.
Yeah, and then
Anyway, yeah,
he really began showing significant interest when he heard that Asteroid was in charge of hookers and blow. So that was a
that is
plus as
true.
well.
I think Puncher has done a great job in allocating, and he's definitely put few people in charge of important things. So not only is Asteroid in charge of that aspect of things, but he's also in charge of the list. So the guest list will be handled by Asteroid as well. Asteroid, can you say a few words? Or are you busy with your fiat mining jobs? Oh, he's not even up here, is he? I did get the information about the venue that uh, Tone hosted his poker gig in during the unconfiscatable conferences. That actually sounds like a cool place too. So now that we're actually getting closer to like what we were planning and also what we the venues, it's a lot more exciting because really we're not about trying to make this cumbersome and ridiculous. We're just trying to hang out. So I'm excited to meet all you guys. I just know you as like the yellow sphere guy and the I'm trying to look at some of these other icons. I just know you as these strange icons, so it's super nice to put a face to an icon. Like
Hey,
I,
Lauren, and
yeah, yeah.
what is the timing on this? Is it
Oh,
during the event or a day or two before?
it sounded like the consensus was that we would plan one event, this one big event where we could try to, cram in as many people. We do need to get a head count on that just so we know if, if the space we've chosen is going to sustain everybody. But we decided that event would occur before the conference, and then we didn't all officially agree on this, but there are so many other side events we can do, but we'll just let people kind of, do their own thing as far as we're not gonna like centrally plan that with all of us going like, yeah, we're all gonna go to the shooting range or we're all gonna, but there's other cool things to do, so we'll just like let like people can just go, hey, like 5 or 10 of us will go off and go shooting, or Tomer mentioned like, hey, my family wants to go check out the sphere, so maybe a group of people. So there's so many other side little things. So I wouldn't be surprised if those kind of side events trickle into and over the time of overlap with the actual conference. I'm probably going to bail before then, but like I wouldn't mind doing a few side events, going out to dinner with plebs, blah blah blah. So we're just planning one main event is what I think the consensus was, right, Puncher?
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense. Like walk before we run. The main goal, I think, is for everybody to get together, put a name and a pseudonym to a face, have fun, have some drinks, just relax. And a handful of us are going to look for a venue, and I guess it'll be like a Bitcoin Today event, so that everybody knows, and we'll promulgate it out once we dial it in. But it's going to be low stress, right? It's going to be. It might cost a couple bucks if that's the venue we decide to do, or it might be free. Who knows? But I mean, the main goal is not to like. The more we thought about it, playing poker and all the myriad coordination that would have to go in and doing anything other than just getting together and meeting each other for the first time in a lot of cases would be just too much work for any group of people. So, and I think it makes sense to do it maybe the night before the conference officially kicks off. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, and I'm gonna probably roll in to town on the 24th. So even if you guys wanna hit me up on DM or OPA or whatever to say, hey man, I'm available to go hang out and do a meal or just who cares? Like I'll be around. So that would be more informal stuff. But just hanging out with the plebs, that's what I'm all about. I don't really care about the labels and I really don't just even hierarchies of stuff. That's why I don't like the whole influencer thing or the, you know, I want to get Sailor's autograph. Like I have respect for these people because they definitely, have influenced my life in a positive way, but we're all the same, like that's one of the amazing things about Bitcoin. you know, is the decentralization where there's no hierarchy of important people or anything either. So everybody's the same. I would love to meet everybody, but that said, I can't even talk to everybody during our regular meetup, so it's going to be tough. But to try to hang out and shake so many hands and just meet all you wonderful people. People have cool stories, so that's my goal. Meet people, network, have a great time.
Hey, a lot going on. Just to, instead of chips from planning, Besant is being confirmed as we speak. Looks to be going okay. It's not being covered on. I didn't see it on like the main news channels, but is anybody following that and seeing how it's going?
No, I'm not. But in other news, Jack Meoff is requesting to join us on the stage. So
is that Chuck
don't think there's a
Jones?
circle jerk going on.
Is that Chuck Jones?
It could very well be, but we'll wait till
$10 billion
till the circle jerk.
AUM. I live in the Caymans, and I have 100 billion Bitcoin.
17 children that you can always hear in the background.
And I got a gold
Hey,
mine where I
Astrid,
explode.
how are you today? Good morning, sir.
Hey, buddy, how you doing? Just
Jack Meoff just sent us a black heart.
just
So
waking up.
We'll wait till the circle jerk portion of the show before we invite him on stage.
Just waking up. I made my
you said you
fourth
got in
shot.
on.
I made my fourth shot.
Yeah, me too.
Did you steam some of the milk?
Oh, of course I steamed the milk.
Do you add water, or do you not add water from the thing?
Sometimes I do a little Americano slant on things. It's weird. Like I've been eyeballing the baristas a lot lately and watching their tips and tricks to refine my techniques. But I've been tweaking all sorts of things just to try to.
I add a little water,
vary things.
just to give it a little more volume, because sometimes it's hard to get enough volume from just the espresso and the steamed milk. How do you get the little leaf thing to come out like they do at the shops?
You can look up things online if you're really.
Did you ever get it to work?
In doing that, yeah, I have when I've done all sorts of stuff, made hearts and snowmen and whatever else. But I'm actually going deeper now.
Shit.
I found a roaster in Reno that roasts with actual wood, and he was going deep on some of the things, showing us the awards he's won with different.
Oh my god,
his beans,
that's crazy.
And whatnot. So it's nuts. Anyway, we'll stop the whole coffee.
No.
And,
I don't want to get back to this boring Bitcoin shit. Coffee.
Hey, Asteroid, can you give us the heads up or what the basics were on the pitch from the other space? What was that all about?
The guest.
Be nice, Asteroid.
The guest basically talked about, Bitcoin loses in terms of volatility relative to gold and S&P 500, and that's why it's scoffed at by a lot of people, I guess, was the gist. But to me, I don't really understand this. Like, who gives a shit if it's volatile? In fact, I kind of like volatility because it brings in money. Like, I don't know. I still don't really understand this volatility thing to this day. I've never understood it. Even when I started investing, I was like, who cares if I'm making more money? Like, why do I don't get it. But I guess if it's all of your assets and you need to meet obligations for your operations, like of your daily life, but no one's talking about that, right? We're saying have some fiat shit I don't know, man. All these weird, like, standard investment philosophies always seemed weird to me, even before I knew anything. I never really understood them. Somehow I was able to, like, break free from that matrix. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm always concerned about just these honeypots. So when anyone, including Sailor, gets a giant stack, it just makes me nervous for some reason. I just always want to be cautious.
It wasn't about that. It was about just mostly the.
No, I know. I'm kind of changing the
price volatility.
I'm kind of changing the subject a little, but it just made my mind go to like these big ETFs and Sailor and the big players coming in where they're going to start stacking giant piles of Bitcoin. And I don't know. I don't feel right about it.
This is how it was always going to end up if it's going to be a global asset. Unfortunately, it's just the reality.
Unfortunately, yeah.
But
Jack came on stage.
Who? Oh, hey.
Jack Mehoff III came on stage. We also have.
It's pronounced Mayhoff. It's Jackson H. Mayhoff III. Thank you very much.
How are you, sir? Good morning to you.
I'm doing great. Yeah.
Are you a Bitcoin guy, Jack?
I am, and I'm also a repeal the 19th Amendment guy.
Okay.
Mayhoff, isn't that like an old Austrian name? I believe that's a name of royalty.
Very smart, Justin Beckler. Yes. That's correct.
I want to say good morning to Eggman. How are you, sir?
Good morning. Just listening in. I'm kind of
Nice.
surprised how much skepticism there is in the market with the 20th rolling around. It still seems like the idea of a Bitcoin reserve is not built into the market. You know, when I take stock of all the comments I read and everything, there's a ton of skepticism out there. I think it's coming.
Yeah, no, that's well said. I think anybody who's trying to load up on ETFs in anticipation of Monday, maybe tomorrow, maybe your day if you're waiting till the last minute. Who
Load up
knows?
an MSTR too.
Thomas?
I'm loading up an
A
MSTR.
lot,
Yeah,
lot of,
there's
lot of FUD
there's
out
some
there. A lot of
Hey,
lot of
FUD.
FUD.
don't
Lot of FUD.
don't
Yeah.
forget the shareholder meeting. The special shareholder meeting for MicroStrategy is a day after the inauguration, which is very bizarre and interesting,
Yeah,
nonetheless.
actually, I don't know. Were you
Dark.
on yesterday when Darkside threw his theory out there, which actually seemed pretty sound. It was very logical. So, Dark, did you want to briefly give your maybe summarize your theory there, or are you feeding your children this
Yeah,
morning?
everybody go check out the tweet in the nest for now, though. Check out the tweet in the nest. It's very accurate.
Well, I can't say I disagree.
Go ahead, and
You want us to rip it
annihilate
apart,
I'll
Zach?
pretend I didn't say
Yeah.
that
Go
in
ahead
case
and
my
annihilate the like button.
employer is watching.
Go ahead and annihilate the like button on that tweet. Thank you.
One nice
I do
thing
not
about
agree.
one nice thing about this group is there's a lot of different ideas on both like all over the place, and often the truth's in the
Go
middle.
ahead and annihilate the like and retweet button on that tweet, please. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You never want to do that for me. Thank you.
Good morning, Thomas. How are you today?
Thomas, how was the other space?
Hey, I'm still. I have 2 sessions going. I'm still listening to that. I'm more interested in this guy's view of this loan model that came out.
I was too, but something got in the way, so I had to leave.
Yeah, and I looked through the Coinbase announcement with it. You know, I don't like the technical structure of it being on a wrapped Ethereum platform, but I would say it's a very positive sign for the terms of the loan, which are essentially what I've been advocating for the past 6 or 7 months or so, which is a reverse mortgage loan product at around 10%. Now they took the loan to value all the way up to 60%. I would not go above, say, 40, just to avoid any potential liquidation scenarios.
Do you mind if I jump in here and just
Go
try
ahead.
to get clarification? I just joined a second ago. Loan of value as per what?
So if you're borrowing, if you
No,
post
I know what it means, but on what type of asset?
on Bitcoin. So the Coinbase just announced they're launching you have the ability to post your Bitcoin that's on the exchange as collateral,
And you can
then
lever it
borrow.
up.
Well, you can borrow up to 60% loan to value in USDC at 10%.
So you can lever it up. Yeah, that's
Yes.
fucking retarded. I hate that idea. Thank you.
Yeah. Well,
Nobody's advocating for it. He's just
talking about
discussing the mechanics. So
No, I know. I just wanted to throw in my 2 cents. I didn't mean to be shitty. Thank you.
Yeah. So the issue really boils down to this. You're either going to sell your Bitcoin to enjoy the benefits of it, or you're going to borrow against it to enjoy the benefits of it. There are a subclass of people who say, I'm going to buy it and never sell. I don't understand that. That's a religious position. Saylor has that position to an extent. But if you're going to enjoy the benefits of this asset, you're either going to sell it or borrow against it. So the question becomes, what's the advantages of borrowing versus selling, and what are the risks involved? The advantages of borrowing, in my opinion, have to do with the tax advantages, and if you can arbitrage the difference between the growth of Bitcoin relative to the APR of the loan. So if the growth of Bitcoin is 2 or 3 times the APR, you're really never going to have to settle that loan. You're just going to be able to keep rolling it forever, and and as long as your loan to value stays good, your risk of a liquidation on a big drop in Bitcoin is really not there. But it's I've run some models out there. You can go look at my post. It's in my pin post. You can go look at the spreadsheet. A lot of people ask the question, can I retire on 10 Bitcoin, on 5 Bitcoin, on 20 Bitcoin? Well, plug in the numbers and you can figure it out yourself. I wouldn't touch any of this stuff right now if I was doing it, if I'm doing it myself, until this matures a little bit more. Like for example, if Fidelity came out with a similar product with their digital, where they are holding Bitcoin in custody for you, and then you do a loan structure similar to this, and then put that into a retirement planning thing, I think that could be a killer app for them. That's probably at least a year out. But when it manifests and Bitcoin's trading at $200,000-$300,000, people are going to start really having to think about this. And the time to think about it is now, not 10 minutes before you're about to pull the trigger.
Thomas, I saw this morning somebody asked River if they would do this, because man, if they would do it, that would, in my opinion, add so much legitimacy to it. And they said not in 25. So
yeah, I think that's probably right. I mean, they're a very conservative organization. That's the value. So to me, a signal to seriously consider it is their participation in it. I assume that the big banks will do it. It's possible to see BlackRock involved doing it. But I expect it to happen. I would prefer to borrow on a reverse mortgage protocol where you roll the loans and never have to pay the taxes or liquidate your underlying Bitcoin. Now, I also think that you're going to see a proliferation of these products, and they're going to give you terms that are not advisable, in my opinion, meaning that they're going to look for you to take a loan leverage that runs the risk of liquidation to their benefit. They want you to get liquidated because they want your Bitcoin. It's going to be harder and harder to buy Bitcoin at scale as we move into the next few years, and these loan products will look to separate you from your Bitcoin. So you got to be very careful how you do it. Think it through. That's why I was thinking you got to keep the loan to value as low as you can. The rule of thumb that I have out there as an operating premise is if you go to the 60-40 protocol of stocks to bonds as a standard allocation, and then you live off of 4% draw. That 4% rule basically allows you to ride in perpetuity and never run out of money. I think when you move to a Bitcoin standard, and that's what this guy on Fred's call is talking about right now, is the 6.5% average monthly return. I think you can change that 4% rule on a 60-40 portfolio to a Bitcoin dominant portfolio and draw 1% a month, which is about 12.8% on a compounded basis. 1% a month changes the algebra of when people can retire and how they think about retirement. And again, it's not something I would do today. The products aren't there. We're in this inflection point with Trump coming in the office. We could see a major 250, 300% return this coming year. So I wouldn't do anything. But when things settle out and you're looking in 26, it might be the time to start thinking about it. And today, and 25 is the year to analyze it and think through your own particular scenario.
I want to retire 3 years ago. Tomer, how are you, sir? See, you came off mute.
I'm good. I'm thinking
Yeah.
hard about this because I'm
Yeah,
kind of in
it's
a
tough. I
I'm in
agree.
a similar position. I find myself in between gigs, so I'm technically retired, but uh, and I and trying to figure out exactly what to sell, when to sell it, how to sell it from a tax efficiency perspective, and all this other kind of stuff. It really is pretty uncharted territory, and you can, like I said, I guess there's two ways you could look at things depending on your circumstance. It's like, You create your own actuarial table, how long you plan to live, what you think you need to spend per year, factor in some inflation into that, model the Bitcoin price conservatively so that you don't get burned, and then plan to sell some as you go. Or now the alternative exists, which is plan to borrow against some as you go, which creates more volatility, right? Like if Bitcoin goes up faster, then the loan pays itself off. If Bitcoin goes down, then you have to back the loan with more. So I think the soundest and least volatile approach is the approach that doesn't involve debt for leverage. You may do some debt for tax efficiency purposes, but not for leverage if you can. And I think the longer you've been in Bitcoin, as long as you've been accumulating, the more and more realistic it gets for you to not have to borrow, other than for tax efficiency in planning a decent retirement. It's not necessary. You're not buying, as Fred has said before, without buying a yacht or a jet, but still traveling and eating well and owning your own home. It becomes more and more realistic as time goes by. And I know for me, just looking at the impact on that type of calculation when Bitcoin rose recently from 40,000 to 93,000, call it 100,000 today. That's a huge difference. And the difference could be erased as well if Bitcoin drops back down to 50K, which I don't expect to happen, but it's it's always something that you have to keep in the back of your mind. But I think some advice that was given to me by a long-term Bitcoiner just a few years ago was when the price spikes, he's got, I guess he's got enough Bitcoin to last his life, but when the price spikes, he tends to sell enough to have enough cash on hand for a year or two so that he can live through the cycle and whatnot, and feel and sleep well at night, not worrying about a margin call or being able to pay bills or whatnot. So I just think that there's a lot of different personality types here, and depending on what your personality type is, will the peace of mind that you get from a different strategy matters more than any modeling can guarantee, because the whole point with the models is none of them are guaranteed.
Yeah, those are amazing points, Tomer. I'll interject a couple of things and then we'll go to Iman. Put your hand up if you do want to work a comment in here. I think some of the things that are really interesting about what you guys are both saying, both Thomas and Tomer, is it looks like we're getting back to a place where we can borrow. I think those of us who were around when we got rugged by some of these other products in the past are a little leery, so we're extremely speculative about, these new products. But it looks like, especially with changing regulatory framework that is sure to happen with the new administration, that we'll have to be careful because, like Thomas said, there's people out there that actually want your Bitcoin. So hopefully there'll be products out there that, will be okay. Another point I think that we miss is that, I don't know, maybe an easy way to say it is I don't like having to, once I opt value into a parallel system, a parallel economy, a parallel value keeping system or money or whatever you want to define it as, I hate opting it back in again. So don't forget that there's other options to purchase certain things via, like, what is it, Bitfinex and some of these others where you're actually, purchasing like gift card and being able to buy certain products that way. So that's also an option instead of actually having to transfer back into fiat and whatnot. So I don't know. There's just a lot to think about, like Tomer said, especially when, depending on how old you are and you're like, can I retire? Could I use any of these, things? What if I have to dip into my stack? Hopefully people have, a stack that maybe shows up on a IRS radar or something, and hopefully you have a bug out stack that is not traceable and you could actually leave the country with if you had to. So hopefully we're managing all of these right. I think this is a good time before things get really crazy and have the potential to reach $1 million Bitcoin to get your affairs in order and maybe think about your UTXOs and manage your stacks appropriately. So let's go to Iman. How are you today?
Thank you so much, Thomas. I actually do really agree with you on the point of borrowing against the Bitcoin because moreover than avoiding the tax gains, the flexibility and liquidity of it is like it provides immediate cash flow for your personal business needs and for investment opportunities, for example. But it's also lowering the interest rate compared by those unsecured or even banking loans. Actually, as I'm seeing this in all, when we all, I'm sure that we all can agree on this. You can, if you're borrowing from a bank, you will put yourself under stress until you put that money back with the interest rates that is sometimes exceeding 28% in some countries. And I'm generally speaking because we're international here for in this space. So the other thing that you can always think about other people who have no access to banking systems, credit cards, and so on and so forth. And that can be for so many reasons. Here is another thing that I think that borrowing is keeps you diversified, because you can use the fund to invest in another assets. Thereby, you're diversifying your investment portfolio without selling your Bitcoin, and because eventually it's appreciating. And here, the other part that I really am very advocate for is the hedging against the market, against the movements, and against the inflation. And I know that Dark can agree with me on this part. The thing that I want to ask you guys about is, what do you think about the privacy in the security of your Bitcoin? Do you prefer to use the hardware wallets or cold storage, as we say, or more just leave it up there when they are on the platform itself in your hot wallet? How do you think about this, and what do you prefer more, especially for Bitcoin, not altcoin or other meme coins or utilities? So because
Well, if we're saying our Bitcoin, that means we own it. So the only way we could own it is if it's in cold storage. If it's still on the exchange, it's not ours. It would just be an
What are,
IOU.
yeah, I
yeah,
agree totally. What are some of your ideas about hot wallets at all? Do you think that you should have some Bitcoin in some of these places just for, you know, like real fiat world expenses? Or what are some of your views on that, Justin?
You mean Coinbase?
Well, no, I don't mean Coinbase
Oh, not
because like,
Coinbase. Maybe like
yeah,
River or
whatever
Cash
you
App.
do. No, I mean even these
I keep a
even
little bit
no,
always just in case
go
I
ahead,
need to.
Asteroid.
I always keep a little bit, even though people say, but like, not much, like point 0.1 or something, just in case I need some fast cash and I have to move everything around because I can't really move my shit. So you know what I mean? So I just use it as a way to get some fast money, but you should not
I'm
keep
gonna
more
do
than
it.
like 1%.
I'm gonna do a confession here. I've actually been leaving some Bitcoin on River that I would have taken off, because if they're proving that they're 110% on their reserves, then my level of concern goes way down. Even when Sats per V byte on mempool is down to, shoot, what has it been, one, two, three? At least on mine, I think it got down to one. Like, I don't even see any reason to consolidate down and get it into cold storage um You know, and I've been doing the DCA on River too. And another thing is that if you have cash, um, I don't know why in the world you wouldn't have cash sitting on River yielding 4.78%. It's paying
I got to get
3.8
over there, Justin.
compounded
I got to
monthly
get over
paid in
there.
Bitcoin.
I'm getting over there the next couple weeks.
Yep. So I've been moving cash over there onto River, and I've got Bitcoin sitting on River. Coinbase, absolutely not. I 100% done with them forever. And
Fuck
I mean,
Coinbase.
I don't understand why anybody would use Strike with their spread. I understand the convenience of it. I understand Jack Mallers says really neat things. I don't understand how they're profitable. Um, I've asked that 100 times. I don't understand other than rounds and rounds of investors and a massive spread. If it's convenient, you like it, I guess that's great. I'm not paying that spread. I like River. I
Yeah,
don't
I think
understand
that's
Cash App
probably,
either. Some people do, but
yep.
just it's what
That's,
works
I
for
think
me.
I
Is
think
the River
that's their
Cash
strategy, the spread.
is the River Cash FDIC backed and all that? The
That
cash
I
account?
don't know.
I think it might be. I'm gonna look. Yeah, I gotta get. I just see one of the problems I think people are on all these legacy platforms is like just sheer inertia, you know, and laziness. Like I am too. I gotta get off. Just lazy.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I think Bob Kuntz posted this morning about that, and there was a little discussion going on. But other than, dare I say, ignorance of the products available and just laziness, so many people. Um, I'm not no way associated with River, but um, I just know they've been so solid, and uh, they're not doing the lending thing because they say they're not ready for it. Like everything I've seen from them is 100% legit, and uh, quite frankly, I think Swan is as well. What impresses me so much about River is that the proof of reserves and that they're Bitcoin only, and there's so much of their content too, educational content is so good. So it's kind of why I like them. So yeah, to answer that
Justin,
question, if I had Bitcoin on Coinbase, I mean it's not even yours. Who knows if Coinbase even has it? But
Justin,
River, yeah, pretty solid.
Justin is like the account on River. Is it just the same as a regular account with the routing number and all that, or what is? Because sometimes like it's hard to get money into some of these accounts. Is it just kind of standard checking type of situation?
That's what I've used to get money into it. That's all I've used.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just checking and routing. It's like kind of like so. It's a standard bank. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna set that up in a few weeks. I swear to God, I'm gonna stop sitting on my ass. Because Cash App is okay. I trust Cash App, but the fees are really high, and it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's less than ideal.
You're also throttled there with both ways, the amount you can buy and the amount you can actually withdraw. So that's also a drawback. But it is convenient. So if you're trying to onboard a newbie and they already have Cash App, it sometimes is an eye opener for people.
It's
So
got it's got Lightning functionality too, so it's just a
yep,
convenient thing, and like it's not as awful as like a shithole like Coinbase or something, you know.
Yeah, I think I
for
told you
sure.
guys I'm 99% in, so in Bitcoin. But
Proud of you, man. Good
I'm
job.
accruing cash, and I've got a little bit, and I've been sitting. Um, this is 100% me. I mean, I'm 99% in. So what
I
I did
applaud
on
people like
River,
you, sir.
what's
Great
that,
job.
Warren?
I said I applaud people like you. Totally,
Yeah,
I'm being sincere. Like, great job.
I'm only
I'm
like
riding it
60%
to
in.
infinity or zero, one way or the other, and it won't go to zero because I'll buy the whole network at 1 cent, unless you guys buy it at 2, and if you do, I'll buy
Nope.
it at 3,
Yep.
unless you go higher, and then I'll outbid you to 4 or 5 cents.
Right now, I'm bidding in at around 100K. So,
But as is the world. Yeah, but
right.
anyway, I was going to say I set up a dollar an hour DCA on
Oh, that's
River.
fucking cool, man.
Yep. So, um,
All right,
Did you? I actually did a DCA on Strike, uh, and I changed the amount a few times, but I did buy every hour for over a whole year, and most of this 2 years. So I've definitely done that too. Sometimes it
like
was
a
pretty high,
dollar,
but I
couple of
bought
bucks.
every. I switched it. Sometimes it was 20. Sometimes it was 10. Sometimes it was a dollar. So I switched it up. I just wanted to make sure I could say that I bought. One of my other friends was doing the same thing, so we kind of had a little competition, but it was super fun, and I did it. I did it every hour for a whole year, so pretty cool. But no, this is good stuff because I think all of this talk, even though a lot of us are, you know, pretty comfortable in our own ways, and we don't really need to talk about it for our own sake, but it's good to talk about for people who are still, learning all this stuff. So, um, I use a lot of different options, and I always struggle with like money that I've had in 401ks from, different jobs and whatnot. I have a few of those, and it's also a struggle. I've heard Tomer mention a few times, like, "Hey, man, like, take the hit and just get that money out of there and get it into, you know, cold storage." But then again, if you do want to enhance your life in some way with some big purchase, it's hard to do with, Bitcoin and cold storage. So especially in this country, in the United States. So for me, I think I kind of use it as like just a fiat excuse to like, hey, I'm paying bills in fiat, and maybe one day I want
Yeah,
to buy
especially if you
a
don't have
home,
cash
or
flow. Like,
yeah,
I
exactly.
don't know. Like right now, I don't totally agree with that because like there's not really good loan products. Like if you want cash flow, you sort of have to use uh, brokerages or something like that, right?
Yeah,
So
diversifying.
I know there's this stigma against it, but it's like how else am I supposed to fund my operations, right? I don't understand.
Lauren, I see we have a
Totally.
Jack Me off as well in requesting, but I believe the H came in the name earlier in the Austrian.
So they
Uh,
dropped it. They dropped
oh,
the H.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know. Did we post something that this is some strange circle here or what? But I don't. Is this the pants free zone? I don't know what's going on today, but we're attracting some strange. I know George Costanza had some interesting things to say. I don't necessarily disagree with what George said. Maybe how he said it. He was rather vulgar, and he was basically anti-leverage. So I have seen through my years that leveraging up your Bitcoin is usually ends in failure, but you could get lucky and we could hit a crazy run and you could lever up really well. So to each his own, but I definitely agree with George Costanza before he left.
Thomas, are you here? Are you on the other space? He's double fisting the spaces. I could hear the other one in the background when he was talking.
By the way, I posted in the Nest one back, Sonny Poe. If you remember, he's the guy who's running the numbers on maxing out credit cards to buy Bitcoin, and which is pretty courageous. And he started a group, All Things Credit, because I've danced around this, and for me, one of the unbreakable tenets of Bitcoin is stay humble, stack sats. So any scenario I ever threw out where the numbers don't lie and I'd be way ahead on Bitcoin if I had leveraged or used debt, everybody would always say, stay humble, stack sats, don't break that. Now I regret that. I think that's one thing. Maybe for the masses that's true, but um, it seems to me this is a time to be leveraging debt to buy Bitcoin. And
At
Sonny would
least a
agree
little
with
bit.
that.
At least in a conservative way, right? Like, why not sprinkle a little bit in? It's kind of like with options. You just sprinkle some in. You don't go all in. And it's like the probability of blowing yourself up is null. So
On a
I
long
don't
enough
understand
time
that either.
frame, it's nil.
So I don't understand this like whole anti-leverage either. Like, yeah, levering up like uh, unintelligently, as Sailor would say. I get that, but I don't know. The way I think about it is that you just kind of like it's like a hot sauce in your food. You kind of just sprinkle some in, and you get like a nice little jump with virtually no additional risk. I mean, tiny bit of minuscule risk. Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
looking
we
for
had
somebody.
a spaces one time, and we were dancing around this, and it gets quiet real quick whenever we bring this up, of using debt to buy Bitcoin. But I got a DM from some guy, and if he's in here listening, maybe he come back up. But it's been 6 months ago, where I've been struggling with this whole thing, and it feels wrong to do it. But at the same time, I'd have more Bitcoin if I had been doing it all along. But yeah, he DM'd me and said something like, it's worked well for me for years. And I saw he was in basically capital. He's like, leverage the debt, man. You got to use debt. So that's the thing. Also, to me, even more unbreakable rule or principle or law is that in a fiat economy, it pays to be a net debtor. So to me, that trumps the stay humble, stack sats.
Sorry, I was working on trying to get one of the
with the borrowing
people
and to keep my loan to value down. I mean, you could do it in perpetuity, and it's the roll. If you roll those loans, it's a tax free withdrawal.
Actually,
So I'm actually.
You have Thomas on the other space speaking? Is that what we're hearing?
Yeah, I got both things in both ears, so I'm listening to both like Thomas.
I can't do that.
Except at certain points. Except
Yeah.
at certain points, I just mute it. If you can quite understand. No, but I'll tell you what, I can't wait till these loan options come and they're better and the rates are lower because I'm getting kind of bored of certain
Hey, we got a new
things.
speaker.
If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, Emilio, how are you today, sir?
Hey guys, I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good. It looks like you're associated with maybe lending and banking.
Well, yeah, actually, I started this company back in 2014. We're not a lender or anything. We bought this this domain name from a failed bank, but we sell Bitcoin over here in the U.S. I don't know if you guys have heard of us, but yeah, we allow people to buy and sell Bitcoin with cash.
No, tell us all about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I started this a while back. When I first started out in 2012, it was really hard to buy Bitcoin. I found out about Mt. Gox and I was wiring funds over to Japan, but I also was meeting up with people on local Bitcoins to buy Bitcoin with cash. So that was some interesting scenarios there, but I wanted to make it easy for people to purchase Bitcoin with cash. So I started putting ATMs in different locations in New York as well as some other states. And now we're in 45 different states and we allow people to buy and sell Bitcoin with cash.
Oh,
Got
wow.
you. So on a website, you have an app or what?
Yeah, we have an app. We've integrated with a couple of different partners now, so that when you sell your Bitcoin, there's a cash code that's generated on our app, and you can go to a CVS or Walgreens, type in the cash code, and then withdraw cash. If you need it, of course. I'm always recommending to just hold your Bitcoin and sell only when needed, but the option is there.
So you said you have ATMs also?
Yeah, we have around 830 of our own standalone ATMs, but we've partnered with other networks to allow users to withdraw their cash after they sell.
So where primarily are these locations, and then what are the KYC requirements to utilize the
Yeah.
service?
So on the sell side, those locations are in 26,000 retailers that you probably already go to if you're in the U.S. Those are CVS, Rite Aid, Walgreens, Target, Costco, retailers like that. And the KYC requirements for that are really simple. Actually, you just need your name and phone number. Since it's cash based, we don't really need to collect too much KYC for lower limits, like $900 a day. A lot of these companies they go full KYC, not because they want to collect all your info, but because they're trying to protect against fraud with debit cards or credit cards. So it's a simple way to cash out or purchase Bitcoin if you have cash. Sorry, did I lose you guys?
No, you just really basically just took all the wind out of this room. You just left us in crickets. No.
Okay, sorry
No, I'm
about
checking
that.
out the website. Actually, you got a
No,
nice
no.
website here, Emilio.
Totally kidding, man.
Unbank.com.
Yeah, you got it.
I
Yep.
was, I was digging around and DMing and trying to get other people up here. So somebody was listening. I was trying to get them up, and so doing other stuff. I was looking at your stuff too. I reposted something up in the nest about you. So I was just doing other things and doing some little bit of housekeeping and whatnot. So that's why I just kind of
Oh, no
left the
worries.
dead air. So yeah.
Yeah.
So you're you don't have to dox your location, but I'm sure like are you on the West Coast? Are you in the US? Are you in South America? Or
Oh,
and then
no,
we want
no,
to know
no.
why I think I want to ask why you're not vending Dogecoin, and then I think Asteroid probably has a question about one of the coins he's interested in. So I'll hit you first with those questions.
Okay, yeah, we're based in Boynton Beach, Florida. You know, I live in Boca Raton, Florida, but our office is here in Boynton. Um, in regards to, did you say why we allow users to buy and sell Doge?
You do? Oh man, I
Yeah,
think
we
there'll be
do.
some
Yeah,
excited
we do.
people in here. I'm not one of them.
Yeah.
So why do you do that?
Well, BTC Pay server is what we utilize for the back end. So they're a open source software that I would suggest everyone to utilize if they want to have a full node for Bitcoin, as well as accepting Bitcoin and Lightning payments.
You said
So
BTC Pay Server, correct?
yeah, yep. Really, really cool initiative. We uh, we give them grants. Well, this was our first year giving them a grant, but we're gonna, keep on giving them grants because they do some great work for Bitcoin.
Yeah, I met those guys in Prague.
Yeah, I was at Prague too.
What's going to tie this back to Doge and why we're dispensing Doge out of these ATMs and whatnot? Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, it's just an option. Doge is very near and dear to my heart because when I was back in university in upstate New York, my apartment didn't have insulation, so I had about 4 or 5 GPUs. I think there were 29 yeah, 290s, ATI 290s or something, and I was mining Doge in my room to keep my bedroom warm. So that's why I kind of love Doge, and that's why we offer the ability to buy and sell Doge on our ATMs, as well as BTC Pay supports
That
it.
was the most lame ass reason to sell Doge. I mean, you were close there. I was like, okay, cool. I'm waiting. I'm waiting to let this guy off the hook for selling Doge. I'm kidding. I like freedom, personally. Not Doge is not for me, but no, I'm just totally messing with you. Freedom to blow your money on Doge or dispense Doge out of your ATMs is one of the beauties of America still. So good for you, I
Yeah,
guess. Not for me, but
th-
go ahead.
thank
Sell
you.
your Doge,
You know,
sir. It's a good story. It's a great
yeah.
story. I love
I
it.
mean,
I made my
yeah,
house with
it's
Doge.
true. Yeah, I was in Poughkeepsie, New York. We didn't have any insulation, so it
There's a
definitely
good
helped
story
my
there too. Yeah.
yeah, no, it definitely helped keep my my room warm. But
Lauren, one mention of Doge, and a listener has just asked, "Is this a Bitcoin space or a shitcoin funnel?"
Yes, I love it. Good for you guys. Yeah, that's where toxic maximalism is healthy and good for the space. So, no, that's funny also. Good for you, listener. That's right. It's a shitcoin space now. Sorry. I think Asteroid wants to ask you about another coin. Asteroid, are you on the other
sure.
call or a call? Ask him about the coin that you reference a lot. I'm sure he does 2 jobs and also is listening to another space right now, so he's probably incapacitated, but we'll get him on to ask about his coin another time. Anyway, sorry, I just wanted to rib you a little bit about the Doge thing, and it's a great story, by the way. Funny.
Thanks. Yeah, we don't allow NFTs if that helps. But yeah.
Helps a little tiny, teeny bit,
I,
but yeah.
I mean, I really don't like NFTs, so I feel like those guys should be put on a list.
I think I speak for
Map.
Justin as well when he and I are both more anti any type of spam or anything that increases the size of the main chain. So I'm not a fan of anything. Like we just want pure money and the Bitcoin main chain to be reserved for just a monetary asset. So he and I are both purists in that way. So we're anti any of that crap as well.
Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah, I'm not about putting any smart contracts on top of Bitcoin. I think I like my on-chain fees to be as minimal as possible, and then for everything else, there's Lightning.
Hey, Lauren, I tried to get Omar up, and Omar, I guess, has been slapped by the X algorithm, as many of us have, but he's been silenced. He's not allowed for 1 week to speak on Spaces. So
Yes. I
he
was
is
talking
sitting in the
to him
corner.
last night in a DM
What did
because
Omar do?
Omar, what didn't Omar do? My God, haven't you been paying attention? No, you know what's funny is I reached out to Omar it was either during or right after our chat last night about what to do in Vegas, and Omar popped in my head because what better person that to be connected with like any kind of party atmosphere than Omar? So Omar actually does have some connections in Vegas, and so that's an angle we're working as well. So
Nice.
yeah, I'm not saying that it would become the one event that we were gonna go do, but maybe there'll be another event and it'll involve partying with some of Omar's connections over there. So personally, like when I used to play poker all the time, I mean, in order to really be successful at anything but poker, you have to be extremely disciplined. So I would have, set, regimented schedules and whatnot. But then when I was done, you know, I would do some long sessions, 10 hours, whatever. But then I would enjoy going to like XS and some of these other nightclubs. And really, there are some places like XS is one out by the pool where you can actually have conversations. I think that's one of the problems about having meetups in a bar or something is not actually being able to talk to other people just over the music and the noise of others having a great time. But there are those kind of venues where we actually could have a great time in a party type atmosphere and still, talk and converse and have a great time. So I'm waiting on Omar here to see what he can come up with as far as another option for us in Vegas. Maybe it's just a secondary event that, 20 or 30 of us go hit up or 50, who knows. But Omar, I think, knows how to throw a party. If the man's been throwing parties for years. His nightclubs, in fact, that's how he met Sailor. Sailor used to be a frequent at one of his clubs. So I think that the guy really knows how to throw a party, and he's one of us. So hey, man, what a better connection to have than a professional party guy. So Omar, shout out to you, man. Sorry you're in jail. I mean, we've all been there, right, Justin? You've been thrown in
Oh
over
yeah, I
jail.
got suspended right around 1 year ago for the account was nuked for 6 weeks. I think I sent 80 appeal requests in, and the only reason I ever got back is I eventually got to a real human. But yeah, it's just bots. And what happened to me was I was criticizing David F. Bailey, and you do not do that. So you can poke fun at Dennis Porter and guys like that all you want, but if you go and you start talking about David F. Bailey, then you will be mass reported. So if you don't want to lose your account, don't say anything about him. Just grin and agree with everything. That's what happened to my account. So yeah, I got that back. Oh yeah, faced. I have no idea what was going on, but the throttling of the account, like 72-hour, what is it, 3-day deals? I got so many of those, and I have no idea what that was about. And still, I don't know with you guys, are you getting this thing where your likes are disappearing? So you'll
You
like a
know what,
post, you come back
Justin?
to it.
It's your
I'm not
wife
talking about
has
the
been
Hal Finney post. I'm talking about any of them. You come back and your likes are gone.
Justin, what's going on is your wife has made a special deal. She's called in and been paying to be like, hey, get my hubby off of that damn app for a while. I want his attention. No, no, I'm with you. I definitely had my fair share of suspensions. I've tried to change it up a little and not add as much piss and vinegar in my posts lately because it really didn't do any good anyway. It just kind of created more animosity. So I think trying to solve some of these issues in a mature manner is difficult for me because I have childish tendencies and a childish sense of humor. So it's a little more tricky, but lately I've been not being suspended, so I guess that's a positive.
Yeah, that last algorithm change though of trying to limit the what was it, unregrettable lost seconds or something.
Oh,
Um,
yes,
I mean,
yes,
that's
yes.
throwing a wrench into the works there. So, and
Yeah,
I've
it's weird.
criticized
And you're
Grok
right
as
about
well. So,
the likes too, especially the How Finney one. It seems like everybody's posting, like every year we go back, and that was like what, the 10th or very recently anyway. And your retweet will still show up, but then the like is missing. So yeah, I don't know what the heck's going on there. So I don't, maybe you're on some naughty list, or we're on some naughty list. But yeah, likes do disappear.
yeah, if X becomes untenable, I don't know if I'm in the minority or what, but I have no interest in starting over anywhere else. And the discoverability on Nostr is non-existent. So I have not been interested in that. That's just not my thing, man. I'm focused on Bitcoin, so I don't really understand the zealotry behind that. If X
Yeah,
it
I
becomes a
think.
waste of my time, I'm not starting over anywhere else. So
Yeah, I think it's one of the things Fred's really honed in on or nailed down about this platform is the network. The network's huge. The ability to reach tons of people is enormous, and I think really that's not only the appeal because there's multiple reasons we want to create these communities. A is to, for us, the people that are already into Bitcoin, maybe early adopters who had a lot in common because our brains, for whatever reason, were wired a certain way that we understood what this whole thing was about. And then B, to get the word out to other people and say, hey guys, the fiat system's a sham and you're being stolen from and robbed, but you're being done so with by somebody smiling and saying we're doing this for your own good and we're protecting you and we got your back, but in actuality they're picking your back pocket. So we want to get that word out there and get the message out that there's an alternative and that hopefully the future will be better because of it. So for me, that can't be done on other unless I'm mistaken and I'm missing something. It's difficult to get that kind of message out on anything else that's available right now. So hopefully things will change, but maybe it's kind of like the time we're at with our Bitcoin bags, where it's a great time to get our affairs in order and maybe have a bug out bag, have a bag that's more visibility to. Somebody just came off mute. Asteroid, is that you? You're back. Hey, Asteroid. We were going to ask you, we have a guy up here who has ATMs and the ability to buy different things. He sells Doge on there. Did you want to ask him about your altcoin to see if he sells your altcoin?
What?
The altcoin that you always ask about on here. Did you want to ask him if they sell that altcoin on his ATMs?
Which one did I ask
The
about?
one you
I don't
reference
remember any.
frequently. You say it pretty much any time you ask about altcoins.
Sorry, I don't know what you're talking about.
Isn't it the dog crap? Was it dog crap coin or?
smoking hot chicken
Oh,
fish.
dog shit. Oh
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
Did
yes,
you
yes.
exchange?
Those. Go ahead. So
Is your exchange for dog shit?
What?
Is it still dog shit?
What?
Emilio, he's
No.
asking you about an altcoin that he frequently references on these spaces.
Oh, really? Which
Yeah.
one?
Do you
The
sell?
only
Do
alt
you
I actually
sell?
buy is
Actually, he does about two or three. Go ahead and rattle them off. Do you sell any of these coins on your ATMs, Emilio? Go ahead, Asteroid.
I only I hold Bitcoin, but I also have a small allocation of dog shit coin. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
Dog shit. Oh wow. Is that something that you buy on Coinbase?
He has minimal
No, I don't have a
exposure.
coin.
Oh, okay. Whoa, but the most important question: do you hold the keys to that dog shit?
I think he just holds
No.
dog shit in his hand. No keys
Keep it on
needed.
YOLO. YOLO.HK. It's safe there.
Oh,
They promised me that they have my asset.
there we go. There we go. Keep it on that little app.
It's crazy.
Love to hear
Sorry,
it. But
that was a really bad attempt at humor. Now, anytime Asteroid's hilarious because he just comes up with these names of random altcoins just for the sake of humor, and he always ends up with dog shit coin for some reason. But it's
honestly,
probably a
it's
thing,
probably a
actually.
coin.
Yeah, it's probably out there. Huh? We're making
Yeah,
fun
it's
of it
probably
if it doesn't exist. Or
Solana. Probably on
yeah,
Solana.
exactly. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
hilarious. Hey, the new IRS things that came out, and we were getting the. I know Puncher was sending this out. I was curious to hear other folks' thoughts on that because they were suggesting you consolidate all your UTXOs down into like one giant one or something. And to me, I did not agree, and I thought it was not a great idea to consolidate down. Not saying that I was anti, taking the picture and doing everything that was suggested, but I just wanted to hear other people's thoughts because I really hadn't gotten a lot of feedback on what other people thought of that whole IRS thing. Go ahead, Justin.
I just didn't see a reason not to do it. Yes, I think it's
Right.
absurd,
Yeah.
and I think that a lot of people were confused who are super critical of it. Like, why would you tell the IRS that? Well, we haven't. We're just documenting it to ourselves. That you can reasonably convince them that on before January 1st, this is what I had. So
What
yeah,
about
99% chance we won't need it. That's our hope, but I didn't see any reason
yeah,
not to do it.
yeah. What about like there are people that, keep a different bags. They keep like KYC free coins and then they have ones that you could trace if, depending on who was auditing you or whatever else. What are your thoughts there? Is that a good idea? And then if you have a different bag, KYC free, would you, I'd assume you want to go and pull anything like that on that bag, or what are your
Well,
thoughts
speaking
there?
for myself, I'm 100% compliant and transparent with the federal government and would never consider being obfuscating any of my holdings to the Internal Revenue Service. That's not what I'm about, and I would not recommend that to anyone else. However, maybe some people who
Because
had
you have a
no
gun to your head right now. No, I'm just kidding. Totally
right, then
kidding.
I would be fully compliant with government, and
Yeah. Well
that's what I'm
said.
about
Well
personally.
said. So
Yes.
theoretically, then, hypothetically, those people that maybe want a small allocation, to me, it's more preparing for any scenario. Like maybe in the future, we get a hostile government and they do want to confiscate your Bitcoin or whatever, but they do want to choose to
Yeah.
hold a KYC free bag. I'm supporting that. Like,
I don't know anything about that.
hey, no, yeah,
I
no,
don't
I'm
believe in
speaking hypothetically, of course. This is all hypotheticals, guys and girls.
Hypothetically, and I've also posted that, and I'll
Right.
put a federal government, other than putting me, I guess, in the electric chair, like I'm never
Right.
giving it to them. So if
Yeah.
it's turn it over to an exchange or get in
Here's
kind, United States dollars for Bitcoin, we'll give you double the amount. However that works, I will never. I'm totally
the thing.
prepared to write it to zero, man. I really mean that.
Here's
Never giving it up.
I think that, to be honest, I think that let's be honest, in a couple of years there'll be such great loan products that you don't have to worry about reporting all this tax sales shit. Like, they incentivize you to not sell it because it's just they're going to be so annoying about it. You know damn well if you sell a significant amount, they're going to be, asking what happens. So it's like I don't even want to bother with the headache. So I'll just never sell it. I'll just take
I
loans.
hope you're right.
Like
So,
Thomas said.
we'll be able to borrow against like an ETF product then too, Asteroid.
Yeah, you'll be able to. I feel like you'll be able to either borrow against cold storage via like this Coinbase thing, or maybe River will have something. It's still years away, but also you could probably, if you want to, do in-kind transfer into the ETF, have the loan, and then when the loan's gone, if you don't want to roll it, you could probably just pull it right out.
There's products now. I
All
mean,
that.
Ledin and others. I think you can pay extra if you don't want to.
Yeah, there's also that. I would say my hope is though that I would prefer not to do that, but like I just hate the tax thing. I hope like they say, hey, look, you can spend $500 a week, and then I can just start buying groceries and stuff with it, and then that's like, I would actually, if they did that, I probably would use it soon. Like once it's like 400 or 500K, I
Yeah,
probably would start using it for
sure. Why
grocery,
not?
electric bills, and
I
everything.
like it.
I would definitely do that.
Hey,
Or
Luke, I didn't
lightning,
notice
whatever. That
Luke
would be
slipped up on stage too. What's up, Luke? How are you today?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Not too shabby.
I was
You're gonna
just
get us back on price?
no. I was just listening to.
Damn it.
I was listening to.
Why are you so for price, Luke? I'm here for a revolution. I don't care about the monetary value.
What do I think?
Sorry, we keep interrupting you, Luke. Go ahead.
I was just watching Besant's whatever confirmation or I don't know if you guys watched that, but
Oh yeah, I think Puncher was bringing that up. I bet Eggman is probably watching that as well. What are your takes so far? Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you one thing. It's definitely better to have the fucking dude that tanked the pound, broke the Bank of England than Janet Yellen. My God. The guy's, I mean, he seems very smart. I don't know. Dark, what do you think about him? I'm not like some genius.
Yeah, so I was watching. Hey Luke, I was watching a bit of that, and yes, super reserved, right? Like he's giving out as little information as possible. So I kind of found it boring after a while, but definitely a smart guy. I think he's a hard money guy. Not sure where he stands on Bitcoin, but I think time will tell in short order.
Hey, Dark, you seem to be talking quite a bit about carbon taxes, which I know a little bit about it. I own carbon credits through a weird confluence of events I don't need to go into, but he was. Did you catch that piece where he was talking about tariffs based on carbon so that we can punish the Chinese?
I caught a little bit of it, but he also mentioned that when asked if we were in an energy a renewable energy war with China, he pointed out that they were producing 100 coal-fired plants a week. So these hearings sort of mean nothing to me, right? Like talk is cheap. Let's see what happens. And the other thing I'd add is I really don't think Besant has that much power, right? Like he's going to be an apparatus of the administration, and he's going to carry out the policies of the administration, or they're going to fire him. Like that's how.
Back above 100K.
I'm sorry.
Back above 100K, guys. 100K.
Oh, nice. Yay! Let's have a party.
Yeah, but he's definitely trying to do what Trump wants, but they seem pretty aligned. Like he's gonna try and steer the ship so it doesn't go off the fucking deep end.
Yeah, look.
Well, I want to figure out, Dark. I can't believe no one asked him about Bitcoin, or maybe I just didn't see it. That seems to me like a question that would ultimately come up in this confirmation, but I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, the most important question that's not been asked, at least I didn't see it, is about duration, right? Like, is he going to go back to a normal duration schedule, or are we going to continue to push our duration forward and keep going shorter and shorter and create this refinancing schedule that's going to be impossible to meet? Look, like I said, I don't believe he's showing his hand. I switched back over to the room because I just found it boring and like I mean, some of these people are just ridiculous, right? Like trying to listen to U.S. senators kind of drives me insane.
They're not trying to get at
completely incompetent.
They're not trying to get at the real policy issues here. They're just trying to get gotcha questions for sound clip. It's not like they really care about how he's going to bring yield curve control ideation to the debt. They don't care about any of that. They just want to get them. And that's true with all the nominees. They're just trying to get them because, this is going to be votes mostly on party lines.
Yeah.
Well, Thomas, how about the questions like, who's that knucklehead from Hawaii? I mean, quite possibly one of the dumbest women ever.
Yeah, I mean, like these people are literally half retarded, right? Like it's just impossible to sit there and listen to it and not get yourself infuriated that these people represent us.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Both Pam Bondi and Pete Hegseth, they were asking them questions like, so and so said whatever, something outrageous. Do you believe in that? What do you think about what that person said? It's just like, what the fuck does that have to do with the price of tea in China? And it's all gotcha. It's all theater. They're all trying to get like a soundbite that might sway somebody who's on the fence because the Senate's so close. It's just, man, we've sunk to such a low level. It is infuriating. It's unwatchable.
I felt the same way, Puncher. I mean, like, come on. At some point, come on. But who cares, right? Like, let's just get through the process and hopefully we'll land in a better place. But right now, like, watching this process play out tells you just how much trouble we're in as a country.
Hey, Dark, can you talk about duration? Why we've come to the short end of the curve and how hard it would be to get to normalize that? I guess because nobody wants our long-term debt. Why would you? It's return-free risk. And then what the consequences of constantly having to refi at short-term treasuries in an increasing interest rate environment? How dangerous that is.
Yeah, well, it's you're taking so there's a couple things to this that are kind of not obvious, right? One is that if you lower rates, the long end of the curve through yield curve control or whatever other means they're going to need, because economically you're not going to want to loan the U.S. government money for 20 years at 4% or 3%, right? Like that doesn't make economic sense. So in order to get there, you've got to use alternative means, right? Like yield curve control, QE, whatever you're going to do to get there. Now, if you get there and you start issuing debt, 10-year, 20-year, 30-year debt at extremely low interest rates, the buyers of that debt, mostly US banks, social security system, all the different participants in that market are now taking out of business risk if rates go back up. Right. So like
Dark.
on some level,
What?
you don't want it. Like we've gotten ourselves into such a conundrum that you don't want to issue long-term debt because if you do and rates go back up, we could end up in this Silicon Valley Bank situation times 100.
Why can't the Federal Reserve just buy it and let the government buy it to lower the long end down and let the government refinance a lot of this short term stuff? Why couldn't
Yeah,
they just do that?
that's yield curve control, right? Like that's
What
QE. Why
wouldn't
don't
that?
we?
I mean, wouldn't that help keep the wheels on the bus a lot longer if they were to refinance at
No,
like 1 or 2% or whatever?
Asteroid. Let me come at it from like an entrepreneur or a business perspective. So I'm opening up a pop-up bagel, and I want to borrow 80% um, of money to open this up, create jobs and all that, stimulate the economy. If I don't understand how yield curve control works, practically speaking, other than somebody gets holding the bag. So even if they artificially suppress, say, 10-year treasuries, and they keep the rates down. When you go to the street in a practical sense, and I go to borrow money, say the 10 years at 3, what happens is the spreads increase from what I'm able to borrow from the bank. So I'm still borrowing at 8.5, despite the fact that the 10-year is at
Why? Why is
3.
that? Why though? I don't get it. Why would? Why
Well,
do?
because
Because they know that the Fed's buying it.
that's I guess nobody wants to be, because they know that if if a bank lent to me at 5, they still know. Again, I don't understand it. That's why I'm kind of asking the
Yeah,
question.
don't they have that note or that the note the whatever it is bill? Don't they have that billed money and they're just collecting a spread? Why does it have to be the same spread as if the rates were high?
Why do lending spreads, Dark? Why do they increase? And do they increase even more with yield curve control? Who's not buying that lie? The banks
Yeah.
or
Well, I mean, in the
no?
end, banks should loan based on economics, with your credit risk, the collateral that's involved, and their potential of not getting repaid. Right. That should be the bank's
So
metrics.
pristine P&L, pro formas, other stores are performing at a high rate. Every partner of mine has perfect credit and is very experienced in the franchise world. But the spreads between are just we're paying 8% on our money, and that doesn't seem to be what
Sweet.
the interest rates are anywhere near
Yeah. Well,
in
So
the
you're paying
treasuries.
now.
the problem is, Puncher, that like You're trying, even though you have pristine credit and everything else, these loans are not in the hundreds of millions or billions of dollars, right? Like they're in essence, they're small loans, right? And small loans are uneconomical for banks to make, right? Because they have to do the same amount of work making $1 million loan as making $100 million loan. Right. That's why, like, if you talk,
Well, it's. Well, I mean, in transparency, it's about 20 million line. It's a $20
right,
million
which in the
line.
grand scheme of things is middle markets to small, right?
Yep.
Like that.
Yep.
That's the
You're right.
real problem. Look, the whole system is completely fucking broken at every level, right? Like the whole concept that you're going to have the Federal Reserve, right, buy down the long end of the curve, and then we're going to pay them interest, right? Like I think that like we need to abolish the Fed, just get them out of the game, right? Have the Treasury issue debt and go from there. I don't understand what's the purpose of the middleman. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
What's the middleman? The banks?
No, the
Yeah,
Fed,
right. Well,
the Fed,
the Fed and the
the.
banks, right? Because
I'm sorry.
the banks buy the treasuries and then loan the money to the government,
Right, but
right?
why not the Fed just have the banks buy the treasuries from the Treasury itself?
I don't know. I don't understand it.
You're having look this concept that we need the Federal Reserve and we need central banking to keep the system. We need this lender of last resort. Screw it. It hasn't worked. Like now we have a completely
Because
bastardized
they
system.
want it to be independent of the government, right? That's the argument. But
And also, let's not forget what Joe Carlisari said, that it's there to ensure the prosperity of the American people, dark side.
The whole thing's laughable to me.
Well, I guess it's to ensure the propping up of like the Eurodollar system, right? They can lend to other countries. They can
Swap lines and all
swap
this
lines.
stuff. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it just makes no sense to me. Like, just let's get back to like running our country, doing it the right way. We don't need a Federal Reserve system, right? Like that we can. And the whole thing. Look, I'm not a fan of big money center banks either. Like, let's get back to small community banks, right? Why does there need to be a monopoly in banking?
There does, and it's certainly not for our benefit.
Exactly. Our look, it's like it's funny how Joe will say that, oh, I'm spreading this doom. I'm a doom and gloomer, right? But the ultimate doom and gloomer is someone who says we need a Federal Reserve to keep the system running. He's the doom and gloomer because he's suggesting that without this group or cabal of central banks and the Bank of International Settlements and this global banking cabal, the world will fall apart. And I just don't see it.
Well, just think about a small bank that would lend to me. I'm opening this bagel shop. It does well. It's secured by, I'm borrowing deposits from that local bank, and the people who come in, like the bank's going to lend to me if they feel like it's a good risk. I'm providing a return, and the people in the community are my customers who are buying my
There you go.
product.
That's the
So
most
that
important point,
works.
right?
Yeah.
Remember, the most important point is if you didn't have money center banks and you had small community banks, their number one interest is in seeing their community prosper, right? Like if the same community bank that's loaning to you owns the mortgages on a bunch of the properties in their community, right? Then seeing empty storefronts, right, and these mass box stores that go out, and then seeing things start to fail, that doesn't benefit them. That hurts them, right? If jobs leave your community, that hurts them. Everyone should go check out the story of Sydney, Nebraska. Incredible story. They were the home of Cabela's. Everyone knows what Cabela's is, right? The sporting goods store. Cabela's was a private company that was run out of Sydney, Nebraska. That was their headquarters. I've been there. Like they have massive, sprawling facilities meant to support every end of Cabela's business. The old man passed away. The company was raided by um, O'Neill, I believe, one of the big hedge funds. Then they got Bass Pro Shops to buy it. They shut down everything in Sydney, Nebraska, because they moved everything to the Bass Pro Shop headquarters. And now Sydney, Nebraska is a burnt out, you know, shell of what it was with, you know, meth and fentanyl spreading all throughout the community. So what was once a completely vibrant community was wiped out by modern day capitalism. And the hedge fund made, I don't know, $100 million in 3 months.
They totally decapitalize these companies. Like they'll buy a company, they'll cut costs, they'll create some narrative, they might add a couple of units here and there, and then they flip it at some crazy multiple because money's so abundant and cheap to the next sucker who then has an even harder time running it because it's not run well. By the way, these private equity firms they're not operators. They're not good operators at all. So then the business starts to unwind, and ultimately, like it's almost like a game of musical chairs, where once the music stops, somebody's stuck with this asset that's completely indebted, doesn't really create, is a shadow of what it once was as a company, and then the whole thing collapses, and then that's what leads to these ghost towns as you drive across the United States of America. It's crazy.
Yeah, and
How can we get rid of this private equity shit, man? Because I've been around companies where that happened too, and it's like they literally just destroy it and then offload it. It's like it's a total non-value added scam to the economy.
There's almost no private equity firms without banking cabal, right? Like it all plays into each other. But again, I encourage everyone to go check out Sydney, Nebraska, and what happened there, because the story is just mind blowing. I mean, not only did they shut down all of this sprawling campus of business, you know, of employees that supported Cabela's, but then all of these people got stuck in their homes, right? Because all of a sudden you couldn't sell it. All of the hotels that were built there to handle the buyers coming in and all of the business traffic, they went out of business. The restaurants went out of business. The entire town collapsed, which was once a really like well functioning, you know, semi affluent town in the middle of Nebraska. So no one gives a shit.
It's just awful.
We need to ban private equity. I'm just kidding, but I have seen it in firsthand. It's just they literally just pump the books with just bullshit accounting and then just dump things. Like it's by cutting and making the future for the company bleak. But it looks good on paper.
Until you're the one holding the bag, then it looks really bad on paper.
The bag holders who they sell it to.
Yeah. Well, typically the bag holders end up being pension funds and like endowments and stuff. They're like where a lot of this stuff lands because they're not well managed. The people who sit on those boards aren't really savvy business people, and they land in their on their balance sheets when they're just hulls of companies, and they overpay for them. And then as those, say, pensions have to pay out their obligations, they're stuck with all these illiquid assets, and that's when these pensions go insolvent.
I feel like a lot of pensions and people that invest in private equity just like, how do they not see Bitcoin as a better option here? It's so crazy.
There it is, Luke. There it is. Like Bitcoin fixes this, right? Like when I say that what started as a monetary journey turned into a spiritual journey, right? Like I've been a populist for a long time because I worked on Wall Street and I saw the destruction, and I hated it. Like I just hated. I hated my job. I hated who I worked with. I hated the people. Like I've said this before, but the business model of Wall Street is one of two things. It's either pulling the rug on the next investor, or it's skimming off the top from a pool of investors. Those are their two business models, right? So what we're really talking about, what happened to Sydney, Nebraska, they were rug pulled, right? And somebody high-fived somebody else and said, wow, we just made $100 million in 3 months and we rug pulled this entire town. It's sick.
Yeah, I mean, even a lot of these hedge funds and stuff, they charge people an arm and a leg to manage the money, and they don't even get good returns. It's fucking crazy.
And nowhere near the Pelosi's. It's not just the Pelosi's. I mean, I know Unusual Whales puts out that list of all the the Congress people and their returns. It's crazy. Like they outperform even the best hedge funds in the world. And
Hey,
remember,
so
Wall Street is a hierarchy system, right? Like the more money you have, the easier it is to make money, right? Again, Bitcoin democratizes money, but the system we have today favors money, right? It favors capital. So if you're a hedge fund with $20 billion, it's hard not to make money. Like you get the best of every single deal. You pay so many commission dollars to Wall Street from your participation that they hand you the layup deals, right? If you're a hedge fund and you have $50 million, good luck, right? That's not a fair system. You know, that's an oligarchical mess of some type.
Say that 10
Hey,
times real
Darkside,
fast.
I hear a stream. Are you fishing?
Me? No, I'm just out by a pool. I'm in Vegas, baby.
hey, I have a question for you guys, or Dark or whoever. If you're expecting some type of growth scare, shit breaks type of thing this year, are you guys like sitting on a side pile of cash to buy it up, or not really? You're just fully ported. So
Abs-
That's a great question right
I'm
I
there.
trying
like
to
that
that's a
question.
great question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great
so
I'm
question,
trying
Luke.
I'm trying to figure out what to do because I'm listening to all these macro guys that are usually super bullish, and they're like 50-50 chance, growth scare, 20% dip on the S&P, buy the dip. I'm like,
It's
fuck,
literally a coin flip, man.
yeah. So, Dark, what do you think? Like, is it a keep a little bit on the side as a cushion to buy the dip, or what? I don't know. What do you think,
So let me turn the question back on you. Where would you keep the cash?
bro? I mean, I'm pretty much fully ported. It's kind of
No,
just
no,
like,
but let's suppose you were sitting on a
Fully ported.
stockpile of cash. Where would you keep it? Where do you think it's safe to hold US dollars? Because I can't find a place. Right? Like if it plays out the way I think it plays out, right? We go into a great taking scenario, your money's gone.
Well, I would keep it, just keep it at your house then in cash dollar bills.
Keep
Yeah,
it
but
under your pillow.
well, I
yeah,
Keep
wasn't.
it in a
I
shoebox
wasn't.
under your bed.
I didn't go that far, like mentally. I was more thinking just a big correction in the stock market.
He's asking, do you keep cash on hand
yeah,
for a black swan event?
yeah, no, I think that the next black swan event is the collapse of the US dollar and the collapse of the banking system. So no, I don't think the US dollar survives the next collapse. I said in 0809, I remember telling all my buddies on the trading desk, okay, the next crisis is the last crisis. So
I
that
guess keeping it in your house, if you lived in the Palisades, you'd need one hell of a fire safe.
yeah, and
You could bury it in. You bet. I
cash
bury
is
the dollar bills in the ground
the problem
with
is
the treasury bonds.
the cash won't be worth anything. If they do a
Well, what else am I
bail-in,
supposed to hold?
What's a good allocation of cash? Even regardless, like you do want some runway to just pay your fiat bills for X amount of time. I mean, what are people's thoughts on just
I mean, do you
6 months
instead of
worth of
holding
cash
cash,
around?
you hold gold on the side, 10% gold. I don't know. I mean,
I'm
Silver coins.
I'm 97% Bitcoin, 3% gold and silver.
I
And
think I'm
So
98% and 2% silver. The only reason I don't hold gold is I just don't feel like it's a good barter. You know, it's just not
it's
the
it's
unit
easy
of
to get
account
cash for
there is
gold
not good.
though. If it's easy to get cash if you need it for gold, and like if the banking system has a problem, you should be able to get the money, or someone
yeah,
would
well,
take
look,
it.
I retired in 2019, so like I live off my savings. So when
How though? How? Because like, how do you do it? I don't.
well,
You gotta
I'm
homeschool.
waiting for the loan products to come out, and I think they're going to be much sooner than you think. But up until now, I've just been very, very scarcely selling off Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's not. I'm not doing that. But
okay, yeah. So what's the answer here? Do people like hold a cushion to maybe buy a crazy dip
I
if it
always,
comes?
I always
No,
hold like just 80,000 in cash, and that's it. I don't even
you
have a
guys are,
percentage.
the
What's your
problem with
address?
the question, Luke, is you're assuming that with this dip in the market, the US dollar just kind of keeps bumbling along. And I don't see that. Right? Like I see
So the answer to Luke's question is there is no answer, because it's different for each person. Each person, for whatever reason, is comfortable holding more or less cash for whatever reasons, just to pay bills or to buy dips or whatever else. Unfortunately, there is the realistic, we all allocate probably a different probability percentage that it's actually going to happen, but it could be the actual rug of the system. So allocate accordingly. If shit really does hit the fan, you'd probably be better to allocate to like bullets and booze and seeds and food and stuff like that. But I mean, the possibility is there. So I mean, if you think it's 5%, allocate 5%.
So
Yeah,
just look
it's
at
just
Lauren.
it's just
I sort of disagree, and I'll tell you why. Because they pulled
Yeah,
this
yeah,
in.
no, fly at her.
They
Love
pulled
it.
this in Cyprus, right? And I kind of get the
Yeah,
feeling
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah, yep,
that
yep,
was a test run. So imagine you wake up tomorrow morning, and they say, "Look, anything you have in the bank over $100,000, we're taking 80% of."
right, yep.
Okay,
That's why I keep like 80 because I assume it's going to be something like that.
again, like that's the scenario that's most likely to play out. And by the way, if you have stocks and bonds, we're taking 80% of those too. Like all accounts are
Okay,
being.
keep going then with what specifically you're disagreeing with me on as far as you know, what I said. You said you disagree. Keep going. I
Yeah,
mean, I like it.
no,
I like to
I
learn.
just think that the only way to recapitalize the system would be a substantial bail-in. We cannot continue to do bailouts and not run the risk of
Yeah,
substantial hyperinflation. Hyperinflation
for
is the
sure.
end
So
of the
I
system.
mean, Dark, one of my points was, like if you're, up in thinking that there's a, double digit percent chance that something like this could happen, then you would want to allocate more more to like bullets and food and,
No,
things that go ahead.
look, I don't. If they announced tomorrow that everybody who had more than $100,000 in the bank is losing 80% of it, do you think there'd be social unrest, or do you think that society in general would be applauding?
people would
Well,
freak out.
yeah.
I don't. I don't know.
Well,
I don't think
again, you're
we'll ever have hyperinflation, but I guess I
90%
disagree.
90% of Americans don't have $100,000 in the bank.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a big chunk of the population that would be
Oh yeah.
applauding because they've been asking for it anyway, where it's like, for
Oh yeah, I
whatever
forgot about
reason,
that.
you owe us something for no reason at all, so we want handouts. So yeah, there would be definitely a large portion of the population that would be
I
applauding
just
it.
don't see the great taking as my base. I don't. What probability you put on it, Dark? You giving it like a 70%, 90%?
No, I'm in
I give it like a 4%.
yeah,
Like
I'm
single
sub
digit.
10. I'm in a
Yeah, that's what I'm
high
saying.
single digits.
Yeah,
So then
so
factor it into your expected value computations, and
it just sounds like it's like you're expected. So this is better for context.
No, I'm a
Yeah, no.
high single
This
digits, but that's still like
Yeah, this kind of talk just drives Joe C insane. So
yeah.
I like it because to me there's it exists. It's just at what
So let me
percentage
just
of
share
this.
I
with
agree
you.
with the great taking,
Yeah,
but
go.
I don't agree we'll ever have hyperinflation. I guess I don't agree with
There
that,
was
but
a very smart Wall Street guy I knew who talked about the wheel of Nazi. So imagine the big wheel in the casino where you spin it and there's like 100 spots on the wheel and then the $1, $3, $5, whatever, right? Imagine you have that wheel and there's 99 spots on the wheel where you get $10,000, and there's one spot on the wheel where there's a Nazi, and if you land on the Nazi, a Nazi runs out from behind the wheel and shoots you dead in the head, right?
And if you guys aren't familiar with this game, we'll introduce it to you in May. Sorry.
But so
Go
the
ahead.
question is, if it costs $1 to play and 99 times out of 100 you're going to win 10,000, and one time out of 100 you're going to get shot in the head, would you spin the wheel? And I wouldn't. I mean, there's no
I
chance.
would. I would spin it. I don't give a
Actually,
shit.
would spin it 7 times, so
I
not
don't
just
care.
one. He would. He
I want to
would
make that
go,
dough
go,
pay
go.
me, brother. I don't got fucking time for this shit.
But
10,000 isn't even interesting. That wouldn't even begin to enter my thoughts until
Till I
I
was
thought he meant
75
10,000
and
I
sats.
wouldn't even consider
had a
it.
terminal illness.
10,000
Yeah.
Bitcoin.
right. So the reality is, if your answer is like mine, that you would not spin the wheel because $10,000 is not enough to take the risk of getting shot dead in the head, right? Then you should probably not be keeping a ton of money in banks.
Yeah. Hey, Dark, I think your prediction about, the next one might be the last. I mean, if we look back just the last 2 decades, it seems like about every 10 years, we try to print the can down the road or whatever, and I'm sure they'll try that again because it's really the only thing left to do, deflate and print. I mean, just so all of these things really look good for Bitcoin or any hard asset, really. So even if we had a temporary downturn, I think all in all it would end something good because mass hysteria and people really create these crazy times like bank runs and whatnot, create these insane dips at times. And so even if we did have an event like that, uh, it would really force people into looking to alternatives. And I think Bitcoin is something that shines when it comes to alternatives. And I think long run, like, years down the road from such an event, it would really still just help out Bitcoin because people would realize that that's something solid long term. So, yeah, there could be some short term volatility and black swan events and blah, blah, blah. But long term, it's still like I truly believe that Bitcoin will shine through even some of these bad events, unless it's like completely, like absolutely insane event. But even downturns, recessions, whatever else, I think long term we'll be okay. And yeah, it'd be great to catch some of these dips, but who cares if you bought into Bitcoin sub 100K, you should be good.
Yeah, I mean, I think Wayne was saying it. Basically, Bitcoin's whole history
Who
is just black
who was saying that?
Wayne, I think he
Who's
described it.
where
Bane.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
He
Go
was
ahead.
Hey,
he was describing Bitcoin's history as like 16 years of just black swan events. The network, I mean, I feel like it's gone through like 100 years of activity in 16 years.
Luke.
Yeah,
I just want to say, like, for the past 2 years, people have been saying like the big crash is coming all over, like in the markets. I mean, even early 2022, they're like, oh, you got to stay out of tech stocks and risk assets. I don't know, man. They've been saying that all along, and I
I
just
mean
been stacking.
that's why I don't
I
really
just
I'm kind of fading it now because I was listening to these
I
Dewey.
never believed in any of that fucking shit. I just buy. Like I always thought. Like here's the thing, I doubt it's this year. I don't know. There's this like weird. There's this weird like notion that we have to have some sort of market correction. I don't know. Do we really have to? Why? I don't know. It
Well,
doesn't. I feel
Asteroid,
like
I
it's not
think
a.
that if you really zoom out, it's difficult for the market to play out when it's continually being juiced
That's
by
exactly what I think. I
money
think it's just
from
juiced up, so we don't have to deal with
yeah,
like these
it's
pain
you have
anymore.
all
So
this
like,
money just being puked into the market, which is delusional. And so it's not a true market, it's not a free market, it's a market that's being pumped and fed by the drug that is the money printer. And so until we're able to fix that, which the only fix that I see would be Bitcoin, you don't really have to be in fear
I,
because that money ends up in places like the market.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, until we shut the money printer off, who knows? I mean, and guess what? We're heading for times where the money printer is going to be on high again when, we're refinancing debts, when we're trying to print our way out of these problems we're in. So yeah, I mean, it probably should reset, but it's not going to as long as we just keep trying to puke money at it.
it could correct. I don't know. I just feel like all these people have been saying this stuff, like the Gaid and the Danishes and all these guys. Like it's like the Japan yen thing. It's like nothing ever happens. I don't
I
know. It's
I
probably
feel
not
like
gonna.
I just
I
feel
mean,
like
it's gonna happen eventually.
everything is so distorted now, especially after COVID, after '08. But after COVID, it's like fucking no one knows what to think.
It's all fake and it's all bullshit. But from a really practical point of view, Luke, like if the shit really hits the fan, and I've spent a lot of time on that scenario, maybe the last place on earth I would want to be in that situation is Los Angeles, California. So if the shit
Oh my
starts
god,
hitting the
yeah.
fan, get on the I-40 and start
That's
driving east, man. Get the hell out of
that's the
there.
only advice. That's the only advice that you really need, man.
God
Get the
damn
hell
it!
out of there,
Yeah,
Fuck.
that's
man.
good
I'm
advice.
sorry. That's a horrible place. I mean,
Guys, I
it's
think one thing Joe agrees with everyone else on is the fact that everything is a narrative now. It's not actually based upon accounting and principles of economics and everything else. It's just
Bingo.
all talk. It's BS. And so, the king has no clothes, and some of us are starting to call that out. And it cannot last forever. And this whole narrative and this whole
Well,
fake money,
it can't.
imprinting money out of invisible land, the fourth dimension, is not going to work.
It,
So, yeah, go ahead, Asteroid.
it can go on for yeah, I agree. It can't go on forever, but like everyone thinks that it's going to end soon. I think this shit's going to go on a lot longer than anyone could possibly imagine. But just be aware that it will end. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I doubt it's anytime soon.
I'll tell you why I disagree, Asteroid. It's because the population is awake. When I see an account like Ian Carroll, you guys know who that is, right? He's got like
No, I don't know.
so
I
his go ahead.
no,
Yeah,
sorry, Dark Side. Yeah, Asteroid, you need to watch the guy.
yeah. I
Okay.
mean, but the point is like he's like a populist on steroids, right? And when that message is getting out to millions and millions of Americans, it threatens the core of the system, right? So
I'm talking about collapse, though.
well, but
Like
that's what I'm
economic
talking about.
implosion.
Collapse comes from the fact that you just at some point, right? How much more can you inflate? Like the
I think
debasement of
they, as long as they
so
can,
let's just go to the
like
point
just
where a Gen Z or
what about 1940s? You could just kind of run inflation super hot and burn the debt away over time, right?
in the 1940s we were not even $1 trillion in debt, right?
Yeah,
Like
I know, but like, and you can also do yield curve control. I just feel like they have a lot of tools to keep this thing running, even though the wheels are coming off.
There's
They
never been a
have duct tape
time.
all over it, man.
There's never been a time in the U.S. history where you needed to have two wage earners just to survive, right? Like this is a new phenomenon. If you inflate from here, right, and two wage earners can't keep a home, it's checkmate. That's the problem, guys. That's why the Cypress model was tested. Is because they're running out of road to inflate. At some point, let me use the
They
Big
need
Mac indicator. Okay, at
the
what
mortgage rate
price?
could go down to like 2% though. Like I just feel like there's all
No,
these
forget
tools,
about that.
man.
What the real question is: at what price can't you afford a Big Mac? We know we've seen like $15 Big Macs, right? At $50 Big Mac, is that checkmate?
I mean,
At what price? Go ahead.
how long? I mean, there's Egypt, Argentina. There's a lot of places that have crazy inflation over time, and people still live. So I don't think it automatically just goes into civil war. Like,
No, because they have alternatives, right? Remember, in Argentina and Egypt, wherever you go in the globe, right? Their currency inflates, but no one holds their currency. They all convert to dollars. If the world's reserve currency hyperinflates, it's
yeah, so
over.
everyone goes to Bitcoin. I mean,
Well, there you go. There you go.
I mean,
Exactly.
if you can't if the U.S. dollar's fucked, everyone's going to go to the thing outside the system. I mean,
Well, that's what's happening now. How do you think Bitcoin got to 100,000?
So
Like
you're not a buyer of the 30-year right here?
it's gradually then suddenly. This comes back to Malcolm Gladwell's tipping point. We're going to reach
I
a
bought
tipping
some
point.
TLT just so I can
think
sell it to the government when they do
that
yield
might
curve
be
control.
the funniest thing Asteroid said all day.
I
Yeah,
bought
these are
some
great
30-year bond
points.
ETF so I can dump it when the government has to do yield curve control.
I don't know how Joe misses stuff like, no offense, Joe, we love you dearly, but like the housing market's kind of frozen right now. Like, the jobs report came out, and a part of the narrative is trying to look at all the positives, but in actuality, the number of full-time jobs, which are the ones that really count, where people are actually getting benefits and being able to actually pay their mortgage, went down, but part-time jobs went up. But what we're looking at is, hey, jobs went up. A generic
What
thing.
jobs were
So
they that are like part-time? What are they talking about in that?
that's a good question. I didn't get into the specifics of it,
Like
but I
stores
would
and stuff and
imagine
like
it's
Uber?
things like yeah, Uber, Uber Eats,
I mean,
burger flippers. I don't know, man.
isn't
It's
it
not good. But Luke,
Surfer? Is Surfer in there? Is
yeah,
Surfer?
no?
surfing.
Are you
Luke, you
part-time,
pointed
Luke?
out the middle class getting squeezed so hard, and Dark was talking about a Big Mac, but there's other things that people are already feeling the crunch where they're not able to purchase, or they are able to purchase, but guess what they're doing? They're throwing it on credit, and that's why we see credit card debt continually. Like reaching all-time records month after month for a long
Yeah,
period of
but
time. So
the one thing about that though, you have to adjust it for like the GDP, and I think it's not. If you look
but
into
that
it, it's
whole
not that
MMT
high.
thing is a crock of poop. Like, there's no reason we need to expand the
No,
money supply at that rate. Like, that's a bunch
no,
of
I'm just
BS.
saying if you look at it
We
as a
did step
function of
on
like
Luke,
the
so
incomes, I don't think it's
Luke,
that
I know
high.
you were trying to interject here. Go ahead, Luke. Luke, did you
I
jump
forgot.
on a board?
What was I
Sorry,
saying?
we derailed you, didn't we?
Kinda. No, I was gonna say like,
Sorry, man.
aren't all the new jobs that have been created like government and part-time jobs?
Yeah, that's another problem, and something we may encounter when we have this Doge thing come in. Because if
Hey, relax on that Doge shit for a while. You
yeah,
got those loans yet? You
Doge.
know what I'm saying?
No, I mean, if we eliminate, let's say you just take one government entity, like I don't know, the post office. Say it has, I don't know, probably 500,000 workers, maybe
The
more,
post
maybe
office is
600,000.
self-sufficient though, so that's a
Yeah,
bad
right.
example.
Have you looked at their data?
Use it to
You haven't.
look at like the
You,
Department of Energy.
That's part of the narrative, my man. You need to go look at the info. They go billions of dollars in the hole every quarter.
The
But they tell you
USGS
they're
is the
Really?
biggest
self-sufficient.
failure in world history. It
Oh,
should have
it's
been
giant,
privatized a
giant failure,
long time
I
ago.
thought they didn't get
huge
any. I thought
failure.
they didn't get any government funding.
You're buying the narrative, my man. You're drinking the Kool-Aid, the company Kool-Aid. No, they're a dog. They're absolute waste of. And they say no, like we don't take any taxpayer money. That's part of the narrative. Where do you think the money comes from? Just comes from the heavens. Yeah, that's
Stamps.
probably where it does come
The
from.
stamps. They
No,
make ones.
billions and billions. Go do some research, my friend. Billions of dollars every quarter they lose. That's just one inept government entity. But guess what? How much of the GDP is from these? These things don't add value to humanity. They actually do the opposite. They're like vampires that suck value out of things. So if we go in and make things more efficient, guess what? We're going to take a kick in the nuts as far as GDP goes, because we're going to, what are they going to do? Wipe out all these jobs? If not, they're going to have to give these guys some really fat severance packages, which is going to cost. Like, there's no easy road to actually fix
Yeah,
things because
they're
we're
gonna
going to
forget
get,
about UBI anyways. So like, what's the
yeah.
difference?
Wait, when we talk about the postal service, you got to remember,
Oh, dear
like
God.
it,
Here we
it
go.
it's
Yeah,
deep. It's deeper than you even think. Like the main reason not to privatize the postal
I
service
know.
is because they help in the election rigging, right? Like
$100.
the whole thing's just so fucked, right? Like I again, this is why I'm dark side, but I'm going to come at this from the extreme dark side. When you have an entity like the postal service, I think they're losing 20 billion a quarter or something like that. Like it's big
It's
money.
billions.
Yeah,
It's billions a
it's
quarter.
real money, right? Like real money. And we could probably, if we got rid of the postal service, that would just scratch what we need to really get rid of. So like the system is broken beyond repair. So I don't, I'm intrigued to see how this plays out over the next 4 years.
Yeah, the Postal Service has these unions that actually don't really do a lot for the employees. They do more for political entities than they do for their employees. The Postal Service is Amazon's bitch at the moment, where it's subsidizing Amazon greatly at the, who knows who's actually footing the bill? We do. It's inevitably it is, us, because we're getting debased somehow, even if it's not coming straight from the taxpayer, it's coming from us inevitably, the people who live here. So I mean, unfortunately, when we've got the postal service out delivering Amazon packages for a fraction of what you would pay, there are also these big mailing companies that are able to mail things for pennies on the dollar, that whatever a stamp is now, I don't know, probably 70 something cents, that you pay. They have these big political these packs that are formed by these junk mail that nobody wants, that are mailing stuff for pennies on the dollar, and yet guess what? You are getting debased for that. So
Hey, I
yeah,
like
the
those
post
grocery
office is just,
coupons, bro.
yeah, sure you do. The post office is just another example of government misallocation, misuse, just it's a Charlie Foxtrot, really, and there's a lot of other entities within the government that are the same way. So yeah, if we start stripping this stuff out, it's gonna hit the narrative in a big way, and it might cause people to freak out. But it really is what needs to happen if we want to bring sensibility back to the country. It's just one of many examples. It's the United States Postal Service.
Can someone explain to me how we wouldn't go straight into recession if we deported like millions of people and then fired a ton of people? I get that we need to do it, but is there
Yeah,
a
that's a
world
great
where
point.
we don't just nosedive, or am I confused?
No, I mean, if you game theory it out, that would make sense for sure. Uh, like Asteroid said, like some form of UBI, which is just money printing and just handing checks out, like happened in 2019 with COVID, like some sort of scenario like that, maybe. But yeah, it wouldn't bode well, especially, you get Joe and MMT folks saying like, hey, as long as our GDP is a percentage of that giant amount of money, that 36 trillion that we owe, we're good. But it's difficult for me to buy into that theory, especially when the numbers that they throw at us are all BS anyway, and the narrative is juiced just to make us think we're in great shape financially, when in actuality, it's really hitting a lot of Americans right in the pocketbook, and they are starting to think about things like their Big Mac and other expenditures. So, yeah, I'm with you, Luke. I don't see how we can go through and just gut the system and refresh it without there being a substantial I don't know, shot in the chops or recession, or there's going to be some pain. So I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, did you see Kathy Hochul in New York going to give out checks to help people with inflation? It's the craziest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's completely nuts. I was going to try to get Alex, but my buttons aren't working for some reason. So I think now somebody's muted. Somebody must have muted everybody, but I'm having some glitches on the old X thing. But okay, so one of you guys brought him up. Hey, Alex, how are you, sir? How are things in Germany?
Guys, thanks for having me. Yeah, just had to connect the right headset. I kind of want to bring it back. How long can that go on? What Darkside said. I mean, I would say what we see out of history is until trust breaks, right? And we see that the time frames of printing money get shorter and shorter. That the spikes in inflation, what they call, are getting out of control more and more. And also, I mean, but Darkside, I would have a question for you because you brought this good comparison. It's probably not $50 for a burger, but until the neighbor understands, oh, if they hold Bitcoin, they are actually better off than me. What do you think? How far America is out of this? Because that you see that your neighbor is something doing totally differently, and everybody's understanding that. I would say probably we need two more halvings for that. So because also, when I look at history with Weimar and all that stuff, we didn't have X, and information flies these days. Thanks, guys.
Uh-huh. I'll go back to Malcolm Gladwell's tipping point, right? Like you
Huh? What?
did you hear me?
I'm joking. Go ahead. I'm joking. Go
Yeah, I
ahead.
mean, like, I think the tip in his book, his research says it's the numbers are 3% and 10%, right? Once you get to 10%, it's over. And like I said, I point to accounts like Ian Carroll and other kind of populist accounts that are just spreading like wildfire right now. Right? Like the truth is getting out. Whether you want to talk about, all different types of these alleged conspiracy theories, right? Like, the Vegas shooting or the this, that, or the 9/11 and all of these things, right? Like we're reaching that tipping point where enough of the population is beginning to question the narratives.
Yeah, that's amazing. Oh, I just wanted to give a shout out to Carolina, who's up on stage as well. Puppy's just entering the room. What's up, Carolina? How are you doing today, sir?
What's going on, gentlemen? Doing great. Sorry, I haven't been contributing much. Been handling some phone calls in the fiat mind, just paying attention. But it's been a great
You've been
space.
busy
Really
lately?
enjoyed.
I noticed you've
Say
been
what?
away, man.
Say
Seems like
that
you've
one
been
more
busy
time.
lately.
Yeah, I've been busy. Still cleaning up some roofs and stuff from the hurricane. Thankfully, stuff is slowing down a little bit. It was hot and heavy there for a while, but always enjoy some time I get to spend in the office and listen to you guys talk. I will say, to Luke's point earlier, I think what y'all are talking about, one of the most convincing things for me about kind of where this is going and how it's played out in 2008 and then again in 2020 is we're getting to such a
Hey, Lauren,
precipice
I
of
can't
like
hear. I'm going to
government
drop down. Can
debt.
you recycle me?
Sure.
But I think Luke Groman talks about this all the time. Is we are now running just the big three, and especially if you throw interest expense between Social Security, Medicare, and military spending, we are like at over 100% of tax receipts. So where people talk about doom and gloom and huge stock bust, I think we saw it in 2020 when we had that rip down. Like they are going to backstop it just because they need that growth. They need the tax revenue. If something does happen with the market and they don't juice it to prop it up, I mean, the deficit just blows out like crazy. So it's kind of playing a sucker's game where I think it's a great time to hold assets like Bitcoin, being that it is the most liquidity reflexive asset. Even if it does take a sharp correction, I mean, even if the broader market takes a sharp correction, the Fed is going to quickly turn on their QE, whether that comes in the form of printing or yield curve control. They're not going to let the market collapse like that for a sustained amount of time. And really, the suckers at the card table, if you will, are the bond holders and the people who don't hold assets. I mean, we're playing a game where it's kind of backstopped by the Fed printing, and they can only achieve the same results with larger and larger infusions of cash. So I really feel like everyone holding a large amount of Bitcoin is just playing a winning Mexican standoff with the government. With we know you're not going to let the market crash. We know you're not going to let the treasury market dysfunction because everything blows up on a far greater scale until what Dark Side references. I mean, everything just does blow up and people panic, and at that point they're buying Bitcoin out of fear for losing everything, where right now we're kind of buying Bitcoin because we've seen what the government's done the past few times the system's got stress tested, and really that's they have one big red button that says print, and they're gonna use that as much as they can until everything kind of comes down. So I think my
I think we lost him. Hey, I wanted to. We can't hear
sorry
you
I had a
anymore.
call, but
Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead. Finish up your statement there.
yeah, sorry, someone gave me a call. I'll finish up, and I got to call them back. But I think holding good assets like Bitcoin, MicroStrategy, what have you, not having too much of your money in options or anything time sensitive. If there is a big correction, I think like I said, we know what's going to happen. They're going to step in and try to save their own asses, and by saving their own assets, they are going to inflate the cost of Bitcoin or any hard assets, and they're going to fuck over bond holders or cash holders. So
Yeah, for sure. Wanted to get reply a couple of things Carolina just said, but maybe first start off with like I really appreciate, because I've been there, the ability to just listen to live stuff while at work. Definitely did that for a while on Spaces. Did listened in to a lot of puppies, toxic happy hours and whatnot. But it is pretty cool to do. I got tired of pods because sometimes it was like old news, but it was more exciting to actually hear live conversation. So I really
What do you
appreciate
think
that. I
that
know.
is? Why do you think it feels so much different when it's live,
I
even
don't
though
know,
versus
just
a
a different
podcast feed?
vibe. You just get tired of hearing, because sometimes they're addressing news that happened 3 days ago, and you're looking for news that's happening right now. And so
There's also an
oftentimes,
emotional aspect to it, right? Isn't it
for
weird?
sure,
Because it's like,
yeah. And then
will this
you
shit
feel like you're
matter?
connected to that community too. So there was more to it than, yeah. I don't know. It is weird, but I think Carolina brings up great points too, and I think Justin really succinctly in his posts, like literally everything I heard on today, just basically cries out buy Bitcoin. I think that's definitely true. Um, Carolina also pointed out about the people that are going to get screwed. You know, there's people. We were talking about the post office. They have the government TSP or TPS or whatever it's called. A lot of these people um,
What is
really
that
don't
again? I
handle
forgot. What's the TPS?
it's their version of your 401k, and there's so many
Oh,
of
that's
these
right. That's
plans
right. Yeah, yeah.
where people aren't managing it. They have no blessed clue. They just trust. They're like, pick fund A, B, or C, and they just really just trust these professionals to manage their future for them, manage their value, and hold it. And really these are the people that are really gonna take it in the shorts when stuff like this goes down. So those are a couple of the points that these guys made that I just wanted to reiterate. So
It's
welcome to the
those
stage,
target date
Pablo.
funds that they consist of, right? Those
There's a
they call
couple
it
of
like a
different
lifestyle
options
60,
for a
69 or
lot of,
something.
yeah, thrift savings plan or something like that. And it's not like other 401ks where you can actually opt to manage your own. Because I know you guys were going deep on some of these funds. I have several different 401k plans, and there's all sorts of options when you can manage it yourself. But if you're just basically, have four different options to choose from, you're not doing anything other than just allocating some of your paycheck towards this thing and just trusting and hoping that whoever is holding it. And honestly, with the government funds, most of your options are all bond heavy anyway. So they're not the greatest thing. Quit playing with your
It's dog
cats over
shit.
there, Asteroid. Yeah, dog shit coin. So those guys are really going to take it. It's the hurt's going to be on. What's up, hubby? How are you today? Do you have a beer, sir?
Doing well, man. Yeah, just ordered my first beer of the afternoon.
Nice.
Taking off tomorrow. I'm going down to Naples for Bitcoin Day down there. So if anyone's in
Oh,
Southwest
how
Florida,
exciting.
yeah,
Yeah.
Bitcoin Day. A few Alex Danzig is going to be there. A few people, Larry Lepard. I get to I'm already chatting with him. We get to catch up and meet again. But
Hey, Pubby,
yeah, so
quick question.
yeah, yeah,
If Larry's
yeah.
going to be there, ask him to unblock a bunch of us. I don't understand how I got blocked, man. A bunch of other people too.
Also, ask him to stop giving 5% of his book sales to donate to Samuel Porter, real estate agent from Portland, Oregon.
Man, that hurts my feelings. Larry will give money to Dennis Porter, but he blocks me, a fundamental Bitcoin maximalist. I do. That hurts my feelings, honestly. Like, I would love to know why.
Is this you, Justin?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll talk. Yeah, he's coming. I know he and someone else. They got plans on Friday night, but yeah, I'm going to see him Saturday morning, bright and early at the conference.
Great. I love
I'll let
those
him know,
guys.
man.
I'd like to talk to him and
Yep.
ask him what I did, what I said. Not that big of a deal, but yeah, it hurts my feelings. He's giving money to Dennis, but then he blocks me, and I'm not the only one. There's a bunch of others too, but he can do whatever he wants. I understand, but anyway.
Hey, Pubby, were you finished? Because we got Wade with his hand up down here. So I don't know if we cut you off by
No,
that or.
I can continue on a bit. I was going to talk a bit
Sure,
about national debt and
we'll go to
the
Wade
TSP.
after you're
Yep.
finished. Okay, Wade, just jump in after Pubby's done.
No, I was going to say yeah. So yeah, we're working for the government doing my crisis planning stuff. Yeah, the TSP is an option for me, but they have like you say, the options are quite limited. But they do have the one thing I will say, they have they're called life cycle funds. So when you had signed up, you could pick sort of like 2020, 2030, 2040, about the time you were expecting to retire. And because a lot of people, they're just lazy with their 401ks, and they'll set it up heavy. Just it's like they're 23 years old, and it's like 80% stock, and they never change it. So what the life cycle funds do is they automatically shift each year to make it more a bit conservative. Now, as you well
Yeah,
know,
Pubby,
I'm into Bitcoin now, so I don't need it. But
Pubby, the
that's
definition of conservative in those funds means heavier bonds. So
Oh yeah, but you remember when
yeah.
when I signed up, this is well before Bitcoin existed. This is all you had. That's why I got out of it and got into Bitcoin. But you're right. But that is what is out there right now for people.
Yeah, their old algorithms. Sorry, Wade. The old algorithms were like stuff like, oh, you should be allocated to bonds of the percentage about, your age. So if you're 55 years old, you should be about 55% into bonds. Like they just had the most asinine. Maybe it worked, 30 years ago, but today, horrible advice. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Wade.
Yeah, hey, thanks for the space, guys. I just went through this whole TSP thing, and I actually had an extensive discussion with Gary and Grant Cardone a couple months back on this. And I had a significant amount of funds inside my former Army / current government TSP. I rolled it from my active duty savings over to a civilian one, and had a good amount of money in there, and realized that not only did I have almost no control over what the funds were allocated to, it's very, very difficult to get those funds out. The best performing index that they have inside the TSP is the C fund, and all that is an S&P 500 tracker. And after having this conversation with the Cardones, I realized that I did not want, a huge portion of my retirement savings stuck in the worst 90% performing companies in the entire index. I mean, if I had to invest in anything in a 401k, it would be in the Mag 7. Why I would want a significant weighting of my entire portfolio in the bottom 90% of the S&P 500, that's insane. And the government considers the C fund to basically be the most high risk. And so, I mean, if the S&P 500, which is an inflation tracking index, effectively, the fact that the government's basically pointing a gun at all these employees' heads and forcing them to invest at best in an inflation tracking index. And the life cycle things, yeah, I mean, I understand, what they were trying to do, but like you guys are saying, that this is something that only worked, years ago. I mean, Bitcoin is the new standard of performance that people in their 30s and below are going to need to survive. So having that conversation with Gary and Grant, they convinced me to basically exit 90% of my TSP, and I picked up some Bitcoin earlier this year at 62. And so I'm standing pretty right now, and I'm hoping that that'll be enough to take care of me and my family going forward. But just wanted to comment on the TSP stuff. And regardless of what they tell you guys, you can get in there and you can get those funds back to you. You're going to have to pay the penalties, right? And the tax bill is going to suck. But when you look at your cost basis and you look at your gains over time, I think you might be impressed. But that's all I got.
Hey Wade, you were or you're airborne. Were you ever at Fort Campbell?
No, I spent all my time at Center of the Universe, Fort Bragg. Had an unfortunate incident at Holland Drop Zone, and that's what led to me getting out of that line of work.
83rd instead of 101st, huh?
Actually, I was with Core, but yeah, I had jumped with 82nd and jumped with the SOC guys there quite a bit. It was fun while it lasted.
Carolina, you were chiming in there.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask Wade if he was with 82nd. I worked with some of those guys, but been up to Fort Bragg for far too much of my life working with some of the groups that are stationed up there. But appreciate your service, Wade.
No, thank you, Carolina. It's good to see you all in here again.
Hey, before we get to Pete, he just jumped up on stage. I talk in hypotheticals a lot because I don't want to get nailed down on anything or accused or have a knock at my door from a 3-letter agency because of anything stupid I said on here. But I'm going to own it. I have a thrift savings plan. So you guys can do the math. I either am or at one point was employed by the US government. So I know exactly what I'm talking about when I'm talking about that pile of crap that they call a retirement plan. So it is garbage. I have multiple plans. I have a small amount left in that plan. You guys were talking about River earlier. There are better ways if you do have money locked in a 401k to manage that. And if you're trying to, like I do some degenning in there, and that's why I don't I don't judge because I mess around with MicroStrategy and everything else. I know sometimes you guys think I'm negative about MicroStrategy. Other times you're like, man, what is wrong with this guy? But I do have 401ks that I degen in. There are better and there are worse. For example, I have a Fidelity account that if you're messing around trying to, buy lows and sell highs, while the money is actually being settled and whatnot, it goes into what's called a sweep account, and that account actually earns yield. So it's based a lot on short-term bond rates and whatnot, but you can actually make 4% right around there right now. It was up as high as 5 during in the last year. But then if you're on the sidelines for any amount of time, that sweep account is paying you money. So other accounts, like I have a Schwab account, it doesn't do that. So there are smarter ways to manage these things yourselves if you actually, take the time and energy and dive in and figure this stuff out. So there's no use to not put your money to work for you and not put your value to work for you. Don't trust other people to do it, because there's a lot of people that are using antiquated rules and antiquated algorithms to try to plan your future and try to plan your retirement, which is just asinine. And the thrift savings plan is probably one of the top of the list of things that's just going to get demolished when some of the probabilities come around, and when the debasement happens, it's going to really hit those kinds of funds first. So just be aware, put in the work, do the legwork. That's one thing we are as a Bitcoin community, is about doing the work. So I'll just shut the hell up and welcome Pete to the stage. How are you, Pete?
Good, Lauren. Happy to be here. I just wanted to speak to you guys in reference to the TSP. Apprehensive to dox myself, but basically, I'm a recently retired federal employee from a 3-letter agency, and I cannot speak more poorly, I guess you could say, about the
Guess we got to
TSP.
kick Pete out now. Pete, it's been nice, and see you later, buddy.
I
No, we're totally
know.
kidding. No, you're
I
you're
was
one of us,
very
Pete.
apprehensive.
No, I know. I didn't. I've been holding off for a long time. It's the first time I've even owned to anybody or stated that I had a thrift savings plan. So definitely feel you on that one. Go ahead.
Well,
Sorry.
yeah, well, we have Dark Side on stage, but I've actually seen the Dark Side in person. But no, the TSP is definitely it's just a blind passive income. It essentially is just funding the S&P. Within the TSP, they allow you. I think they just recently did it, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, something called the mutual fund window, where they allow you up to an additional 20, or not an additional, within your balance, 25% of it can go into basically these mutual funds that have to be approved. So it really still doesn't provide you any flexibility. It's super restrictive, like some of the other speakers were talking about. But in my case, I got in Bitcoin probably early 2023, and then basically once I was almost orange pilled immediately. And the minute I was able to retire, I did. And being in federal law enforcement, the retirement's a little bit different than the military. So we can access our TSP as you would after you're 59 and a half. But within that, essentially I retired the minute I could, just so that I could convert to Bitcoin.
So Pete, I assume that if you've said you've seen the dark side of the moon in real life, we will be seeing you in May at the pleb, whatever the hell we do, party in Las Vegas, correct?
Highly likely, yes. Yes.
Woohoo! All right. Well, we're looking forward to seeing you. Hopefully, we'll get to see everybody. It'll be awesome. So yeah, no, the TSP, I can't say enough bad things about it.
Well, there's just no guidance. I mean, you get these guys that
Yeah.
are 23, 24 years old, up to 30 years old, going into the academies, and they have literally like about an hour long session on finance, your benefits, and how you should allocate the TSP.
Yeah.
And it's just a real disservice to those guys.
For sure. We'll get to Wade too.
Yeah.
Pubs, I know
Yeah.
you got one, and Wade
Just
had
to
his hand up.
piggyback, I know. I just want to piggyback because Wade may change it. I don't know. Previously, the TSP wasn't. It was only a few years ago that it got offered to active duty members. It was always a civilian thing. Active duty, you either retired or you didn't. Okay. Lucky enough, there's a way you go back. When I became a civilian, you're able to buy back your time in service, which is good to apply towards your pension. But overall, the TSP, I know you think it's crap. At the time, before 2009, there was really nowhere else to go. We obviously didn't have Bitcoin, but compared to other 401ks, other companies, man, they screw you on fees. The TSP wasn't bad, especially because you got a match. You put in 5% and you got a 5% match. So yeah, it sucks, but there are a lot worse things out there. And yeah, I may or may not have taken a TSP loan to purchase Bitcoin in 2018. I'll just leave that there. Crash
Well,
that shit.
I did the exact same thing in 2023.
Boom.
I think that's probably the
So
smartest.
Astro would probably be happy that I leveraged myself as quickly as I could
Yeah,
once I found Bitcoin.
that was a great decision because a lot of the other stuff within that TSP is actually not as good as what you can get from just a regular company. Anyway, Wade, I know you had your hand up, and you're a TSP guy as well.
Yeah, just wanted to follow up on that. Well, I was exploring some options to what to do with my deployment pay when I was in Iraq doing the OIR thing back in 19. And I sat down with some, I think they were Raytheon or General Dynamics contractors there, and they told me that they had all opened Roth IRAs, and in their Roth IRAs, they'd all purchased cigarette stocks, and they were accumulating effectively all of those dividend payments in cigarette stocks inside their Roth IRAs. So I said, "Oh, this is a great idea. I'm not going to buy cigarette stocks because I think that's pretty unethical." So I started stacking a little bit of money inside my Roth IRA, and ultimately I found out about GBTC, and I bought it at the discount. Ended up blowing that account up in a good way, and then ultimately kind of found out about the whole MSTR whatever thing. And I just, for the group, I don't want you all to underestimate what the power of an IRA or a Roth IRA can do with some of these trapped funds that you may or may not have. And I understand it's not cold storage Bitcoin, but we're talking like, if you got funds locked in a tax advantage account, there's some really good options out there for you folks to deal with, even if you still have your TSP and whatnot. And look, even for me, I still put $250 a month into a paycheck into the TSP because they match it. It's free money. I got 100% ROI on that, and I don't see any reason to not take the 5% match. I mean, folks could tell me that I'm wrong or crazy, and I know that's a conservative bet, and it's a little bit of diversification. But if they're going to give me, if it's going to be 100% ROI, and the little bit that I have left inside the TSP still tracks inflation, I suppose that's okay. But I think most of us probably have enough in cold storage to be okay. But just wanted to ping in on the power of the IRAs and whatnot too with your trap funds.
So real quickly on that, just so a quick difference. If you're here listening, your first time, and you hear like the TSP, that's thrift savings plan, which is the government version of the 401k. And when you hear just a quick breakdown, the difference between a 401k and a Roth. The 401k is pre-tax money, which means if you're making 100 grand a year and you put $20,000 into that, not only do you get the match, but you're only taxed on $80,000 of your salary. So it's a pre-tax advantage. Okay. Now, once that balloons up, grows, whatever, when you retire, you will get taxed at that point. But the advantage is if you are a higher salary earner, the 401k is for you. The Roth, as much as the lower limit, I think it's like maybe 7,000 or 8,000. It's post-tax dollars. So if you're making some money and you don't pay a lot in taxes, you pick up a Roth because guess what? You use post-tax dollars and when you retire, it's not taxable. Okay, so that's I just want to break down that component if people are just a bit confused between when you hear Roth and 401k. That's the difference. One is pre-tax, one is post-tax money that you put in, but you're not taxed later. Just want to break that up.
And just in case anyone was curious, BlackRock is the fund manager for the TSP.
I'm feeling better already. Oh yeah, and if you take it out early, by the way, yeah, it's a 10% hit right up front, 10% penalty, plus you're paying your normal taxes on it. So basically, you're going to lose probably close to 40% of the value. Just to let you know.
Hey, Pubs, Dark, can you guys handle the room if I just escape for like 15 minutes?
I think we're up for the challenge. Yeah, I don't know if you guys want more tax talk or what, but or Bitcoin talk.
This might be a good one for that Bitcoin veterans meeting group too. They probably already have had that discussion, but it is a good discussion. I know Tomer has brought up some good points about, at what point do you actually just take the hits on some of these accounts and just roll them into cold storage Bitcoin? Because I mean, really, when you pencil it out long term, um, the amount Bitcoin will gain is really gonna just smoke any potential tax hits you take on this anyway. So unless you really need the show fiat income for whatever reason, a paper trail to buy a home or a car or whatever, like he does bring up a good point. I'm not suggesting it or whatever, but I've definitely given it thought about some of the accounts that I have.
Oh, no doubt, man. Absolutely no doubt. On a long enough time horizon, it's better for many people to just cash out. But other people, you've always been on the show about Bitcoin first. Some say, you know what? I'm going to start into this thing called Bitcoin, but I also like that I have a pension. I have my 401k on the side. I'm just going to plow everything going forward into Bitcoin. Some people are built like that, and that's fine. But like you say, from a pure mathematical standpoint, for many, yeah, if you're here, if you got two halvings before you retire, yeah, you take the hit now and throw it into Bitcoin. But that's an individual choice, man. No, not financial advice from me, man.
I still like keeping a little bit of money and getting that continuous match in the TSP simply because I have the ability to leverage to borrow against it. And usually, sometimes I'll get to the end of the year or in the end of the tax year, and I'll borrow against the TSP just to pay the taxes. It's kind of a funny way of paying the tax man, but I mean, I still need some of that dirty fiat to at least keep the IRS happy.
Let's go.
No, that's brilliant. I mean, you've got free money, so who wouldn't take free money with the match? And when you're borrowing and just paying yourself back, it's genius. So I really applaud you guys that are, able to take loans against yourself, against your own funds, and buy Bitcoin. So brilliant moves in my book.
I'd love, and I know some people are going to cringe again about this, but at some point in the future, I do feel like me and my family are going to have enough in cold storage that we may have a little bit of a liquidity issue, and we may want to be able to access some of that or lever against some of that or buy some stuff in the future. I'm not really interested in selling it, but there's been so many disasters with taking out loans against Bitcoin and whatnot. I feel like it's going to take a while for that infrastructure and incredible parties, counterparties, and players to develop where we can actually access that capital or borrow against it. But I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, sorry, I was just ordering some lunch here. I missed that last part, man. Do you mind repeat that real quick?
Yeah, I was just wondering what are your thoughts on credible financial markets developing to allow people to borrow or access, liquidity or lever against some of their Bitcoin? Because that's currently what I'm using the TSP for. But eventually, I feel like there's going to be a lot of people who are going to want to be able to, borrow against the most pristine capital ever developed.
Yeah, look, I think it's going to be the natural order of things. People are going to have enough Bitcoin they want to borrow against it, or like you say, when you talk about the fiat you have now, it's literally worthless. So that's what we're saying. Can you imagine telling someone to take a 10% hit plus pay taxes on something just to convert it into Bitcoin? Yeah, that's the natural order of things coming up. We'll see. I truly am interested. At a certain point, people are gonna have a Bitcoin stack they can borrow against, just to avoid taxes. Take out a loan. I mean, obviously, you don't take a 50% loan to value, but if you just want 5% of your stack, there's gonna be a market for it. And this is where we get into, like, Lauren's been on with these guys like Bitcoin first. It's whatever you're comfortable with. As long as Bitcoin is first in your mind and you have enough Bitcoin to do what you want, look, you're a grown adult. Do what you want with the rest, man.
Yeah, and it seems like sailors work in some of that and at very high level, advanced markets and whatnot. But I'm hoping at some point in the future, there's going to be some sort of retail solution for people, regular folks and veterans and whatnot, so they can actually access some of that capital and lever it to use some things just to improve.
Sorry to cut you off. Have you not seen Coinbase have just announced exactly that, or am I missing something?
The Coinbase product converts the Bitcoin to wrap Bitcoin, which looks like it's a taxable event.
Yeah, it's the same thing though, right? So they're wrapping it because they're using a third party. So it looks like Coinbase are basically holding the actual Bitcoin in custody, and then they're wrapping it in Bitcoin and sending the wrapped Bitcoin to the third party, who is then lending at variable interest rates of between 9 and 20%. So I guess just playing this through in my mind, just so I'm clear, let's just say you needed some money to, I don't know, to live, right? Or buy something cool. So you want to buy something that you don't have the actual cash for, but you do have the cash flow for. Then you could buy something. I don't know. Let's just say, I don't know, a swimming pool in your backyard, and you want to spend 50 grand, right? So you've got enough Bitcoin. So you borrow 50 grand against your Bitcoin, you buy the swimming pool, and then you make the repayments at 9% instead of selling the Bitcoin itself, losing the asset, and paying 24% in the UK of tax on that Bitcoin. So you're paying 9% instead of 24%, because there's still a charge for the money, and you're keeping the asset. Is that everyone else's understanding of how this plays out, right? And then you just make repayments in fiat based on what you can afford each month until the loan's paid off, at which point your Bitcoin is then available for you to withdraw back to cold storage.
I would add one thing. One thing is that the hope is, and the trend is, that 24% you pay is gone along with your Bitcoin. What the theory is that 9%, and look, I know it's volatile, but that 9% is more than made up for because you're still holding your Bitcoin, which outpaces
Yeah,
it.
the Bitcoin
Right.
appreciate, but even if the Bitcoin doesn't appreciate, it doesn't matter as long as you don't get liquidated, right? So you want to make sure that if you put $50,000 worth of Bitcoin into this system, and you borrow $50,000, and then it has a 50% draw pullback, then obviously the collateral no longer covers the loan. And so and I haven't looked at the terms and conditions, but what you don't want to do is get into a situation where they say this is no longer enough collateral. You either need to send us more Bitcoin to cover the loan that you've had, which I guess most people would do because they wouldn't want to lose the Bitcoin. But if they didn't have the Bitcoin and they put all their Bitcoin in for this loan, then potentially they would lose the asset and pay the fee, and then I guess they'd have a capital gains loss that they could offset against the situation, but it would still be a bad situation to be in, right?
Yeah,
but shouldn't the quality of the collateral result in a better interest rate? So I'm thinking the interest rate for me to be like comfortable with it should be like half of Fed funds.
Well, if you're paying 24% capital gains tax and you can borrow at 9%, I wouldn't have said that Bitcoin is necessarily a better quality collateral on a high time preference basis. So I guess it's how you look at it, right?
Yeah, I don't know, 9% just feels 9% feels high considering I can go out and I can get I can get anywhere between a $20,000 and $50,000 signature loan effectively at 0%. A lot of credit cards are offering that right now.
Yeah, I agree. So then why would people do this? Well, it's because they've got bad credit worthiness in the real world, but they own Bitcoin and they can get money at 9%. I mean, it's 9 to 20%. So, the point is it's cheaper still than the capital gains tax. But yeah, absolutely, there's probably better ways of borrowing money.
Well, it makes me wonder if Sailor and any of his crew are thinking about. any innovations regarding potential retail, help people access credit, help people access credit with pristine collateral, and maybe
See,
some lower interest rates.
For me as a Bitcoiner, the more attractive product that could be offered would be deposit your Bitcoin with Michael Saylor or JP Morgan or BlackRock or whoever, someone that's so big they're likely to be backed in the event of a major collapse, and then they lend that money out and you generate yields, which means that I then have yield coming in each month from the Bitcoin that I've lent that entity, so that I can live without having to work.
%100%.
So my preference on this subject is that you get a tri-party multi-sig wallet, right? So you can actually see your Bitcoin, much the way Unchained does. Obviously, their rates are not competitive, but I don't like the idea of putting my Bitcoin into a black hole and getting
But
fiat for it.
that's fair enough, but it's only as safe as the other two parties, which can be subpoenaed and all sorts. So, you have to accept in this circumstance where you're getting yield that you are effectively giving up true ownership and control over the Bitcoin.
So in a tri-party situation, you have the lender, you have me as the lendee, right? And then you have a law firm that will only release the Bitcoin if there is a covenant that's broken on the loan. Right? That makes sense to me. Plus, plus my Bitcoin can't be rehypothecated in that scenario because I can see it in a wallet.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you say, I think that's like the best scenario you can hope for. But you still have given up sovereignty. But yeah, I think that's a good solution.
Yeah, I mean,
Who do
look.
we?
Go ahead.
Who do we think some of these trusted? Who do we anticipate some of these trusted third-party custodians to be? Do we expect that to be Coinbase, or do we expect this to be like independent law and accounting firms? And it's going to take some time to build that credibility, isn't it?
I think in a Trump administration, I think the private banks will be given the clearance to offer this as a service.
Aren't there restrictions on banks holding Bitcoin though? That hasn't been corrected yet, has it?
No, at the moment they can't do it, but I think they want to.
What's
so
wrong?
I think, yeah, that's my understanding of it.
I like
Yeah,
that, Tyler.
someone refresh. Who's got hot mic? Dark side.
Sorry about that.
Does anyone know off the top of their head what the actual accounting or banking law that is? That it doesn't treat Bitcoin as actual collateral. There's an accounting issue with it.
I thought that the issue was that if banks were to hold it, they had to have one-to-one reserves in place. But I can't remember. I don't think banks generally are allowed to hold Bitcoin on behalf of their clients. So yeah, I might be wrong, but like I say, under a Trump administration, whatever, I think in the US, the SEC are blocking banks from being able to do that from memory. But like I say, under a Trump administration, I think that'll be cleared, and I think that's how retail people will engage with Bitcoin a lot, actually.
That's the Caitlin Long issue, correct? When she was trying to stand up for a fully reserve bank out west. I think that was the issue. She was saying she was running into a regulatory issue, but is that a law or a regulatory issue? Can a Trump appointee come in and wave his hand and change that accounting rule, or do we need to get some congressional action or authorization to change the rule?
I don't know the answer to that question. That's yeah. I don't even know what the rules are in the UK, to be honest, on this.
Chris, have you heard anything about, is anyone in the EU or Eurozone? Are there any banks over there that have the ability to actually custody Bitcoin? Or are they still subject to the same shenanigans we are here in the US?
Yeah, not as far as I know. I mean, the EU are very much, I would say, a movement against. They're the furthest forward, I would say, in terms of CBDCs and seeing Bitcoin as a negative and a potential worry for their totalitarian regimes. You know, it was Christine Lagarde that said that Bitcoin was the escape hatch, and I was kind of quite shocked that she would say something so profound and accurate on live television. Yeah, I don't think they're looking at it particularly favorably at the moment. I guess the hope is that under a Trump administration, they come in and say, we're pro Bitcoin, we're pro crypto. And they're going to be pro, crypto and Bitcoin, let's face it. Basically tell the EU to get on board and not do something that ultimately would damage US citizens' investments in those asset classes.
Which is kind of hilarious because we're seeing the Russians and the Chinese roll back their restrictions, and even the Gulf states are talking about. I think Cardone was mentioning something this morning about there being like a crypto tower being constructed in Dubai, and it's like, well, they're not going to conduct all of those investments and whatnot if they're not going to conduct all those investments if they don't have the rules and regulatory practices in place to handle and custody the asset class appropriately. So it's kind of crazy that we're looking at the Gulf doing that.
I've got an update on that. So it's called SAB 121, SAB 121, and that was passed by Congress for banks to be able to hold Bitcoin, and Biden vetoed it. So Alex is messaging me as we speak.
Oh, that was, yeah, the one.
I think your computer shut off, Wade, in the background.
Yeah, it happened.
Why does it sound like a bomb?
It's one of those things.
Yeah, mine does that too. It always scares me. I'm like, holy shit! It's like I feel like I'm in the Speed movie every time. Like I'll hear it in my room, and I'm like, what the fuck? Scary.
But yeah, do you guys recall the SAB, the 121 repeal thing that I do recall that Congress passed that and Biden vetoed it, and there was a whole uproar in a crypto nation about it and whatnot. But does anyone have any scuttlebutt on whether the new Congress has plans to send that bill back to the president's desk? I mean, that could be a day one thing, correct? And then we're looking at banks off to the races to custody Bitcoin.
Personally, I have no idea. No idea.
Update SAB 121 would allow for banks to count cryptos as assets and not liabilities. The reason banks won't touch crypto is because they're held legally liable on their balance sheets for the value of the crypto. So there you go. That's again from Alex. Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, I've been wondering that same point about reintroducing SAB. I had that same question in my mind. Boy, wouldn't that be nice?
Well, I mean, we're not going to be in a grown-up world until the big players can actually custody the asset.
This is one of those things where after you've been here year after year and they come and go. China bans mining. Oh, China accepts mining. Oh, China bans mining. Oh, this person's in, this person's out. The best thing you can do for yourself and your sanity is to simply decide the amount of Bitcoin you would like to accumulate and just start doing it. Turn off everything else. Turn off the noise. Don't listen to any promises being made by any individual or any government. Take care of yourself. That's the most sound advice I can give you. Those things, yeah, it's great. This can be rescinded then. Then this government's going to put it back in. This Congress will reinstate it, and then it's gone again. if you want to put yourself to those mental gymnastics, figuring out what to do, that's fine. Personally, like I say, man, focus on your needs, your family needs. You focus on those needs of what Bitcoin represents to you, and just accumulate and just like I say, man, put on the blinders, stick the cotton in your ears, and don't listen to anyone else.
Pablo, do you have any concerns about KYC versus non-KYC Bitcoin?
Well, yeah, obviously, non KYC is preferable on that, but I'm at a point now. My main concerns coming into this was that there was never anything called Bitcoin. So to me, a KYC Bitcoin is 99% better of anything else we got. You got to look, there's some risk in everything. There's going to be some risk in everything you do. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say to that. Like, I took a chance, like most people did. Let me get some Bitcoin. Some you can get non KYC, of course. KYC, some are in a mixer. Who's going to accept this? So yeah, I don't know. Everyone's got to answer that question for themselves. I got you, TC. I see you down there, brother. Been a while there, but yeah, can they shut stuff down like that? Perhaps. I don't know. I'm just like I say. I'm just pushing forward. I'm just moving
Can I
forward.
add to that, please?
Absolutely,
and I
man.
want to circle back to what Chris was saying about the lending and stuff. Just real quick regarding KYC, you're going to want to diversify as far as you probably for best optionality in the future are going to want to have separate KYC and non KYC stacks for different purposes. There will be use cases in the future where it will benefit you to have Bitcoin that does not have a history where your identity is tied to it. And in other cases, it will benefit you to have Bitcoin that you can show where exactly you acquired it and have your identity tied to it. Think about any kind of transactions that involve financial institutions, anything just that's regulated heavily. KYC Bitcoin is probably going to have less friction. I can imagine a lot of situations where non KYC Bitcoin actually can cause problems for you there. And the exact opposite when you're dealing with individuals peer to peer, where you probably want to try to obscure the source and the history of your Bitcoin. So that's kind of a little bit more high definition way to think about KYC versus non KYC. If you're holding all KYC Bitcoin, it probably behooves you to seek out how to acquire some non KYC Bitcoin in a separate stack that you keep in a separate wallet and you use for specific use cases where that's going to benefit you. I did want to circle back to the lending thing because what I read this morning makes the whole Coinbase lending thing sound absolutely no go. It's basically like you're dealing with the tax consequences of switching from Bitcoin to wrapped Bitcoin right up front, and then you're paying interest on top of that. And it's not that Coinbase is going to be holding on to your Bitcoin. They're going to ship your Bitcoin off to wherever it becomes wrapped. Wrapped Bitcoin is not something that's issued by Coinbase. It's issued by a third party. So your Bitcoin's not being held by Coinbase. That whole thing sounds just disastrously risky, and I would not recommend anyone do anything like that.
Why does all that stuff just sound like the Celsius Ponzi to me?
Because it is.
Oh my God, you're right. If you convert it to USDC, it's a taxable event. Then who the fuck wants this product? God damn it.
Everything is a taxable event. Do not fucking do it.
This is a garbage. I didn't even think about that. That was so obvious because this is a horrible product. All right, forget about it.
Yeah, that's why I was making the point about the tri-party Bitcoin in multi-sig where your Bitcoin doesn't get moved and doesn't get touched. It just sits in the form of perfect collateral. Then there's no taxable event.
TC, what did you read that made you think like so they're actually converting your Bitcoin? I don't understand because usually loan
If it's
proceeds are
wrapped
not.
Bitcoin, that is a different asset.
Yes, yep, good
Period.
point.
So it's either there's a wrapped Bitcoin I'm not aware of that Coinbase issues, or it's WBTC, which is issued by BitGo, I think. There's one institution that issues most of the wrapped Bitcoin that has the symbol WBTC that goes on Ethereum chain and a bunch of other chains. That's a centralized custodian that you send your Bitcoin to, and then they issue you those tokens, and that is also an asset swap. So yeah.
So just one
caveat.
One caveat to that though, if conceivably if you could convert at the same value, it's not taxable. No, I'm not saying this is a good idea. I'm just saying, let's say Bitcoin's at 95,000 and you take out a loan and they convert it at 95,000 to wrapped Bitcoin. I mean, I guess if you were bringing, I guess, Bitcoin that you had to this, yes. But
It's
if you were
considered
bringing
selling.
cash,
Isn't it
Right.
considered
The whole
selling?
point. The whole point is
You're
it's
selling.
a taxable event, and the actual implications of that event is going to be personal to you, depending on what your cost basis is and how you're doing your accounting. But the idea that you just because you're switching from Bitcoin to wrap Bitcoin and they hold the same numeric value that there's no taxable event there is totally false. Like
yeah, the only way it
it's an
works is
asset
if you
swap.
bring cash, you buy it at 95,000 on Coinbase, take out a loan at 95,000 where they're converting it. There's no, I mean,
Why would you want to do that?
I'm just saying, like, based on the accounting rules, that's the only way it would make sense. And so who of us is actually coming to the table to buy Bitcoin just to turn it back into cash, with a leverage play?
Nobody.
I don't think it's a great product.
This is a garbage product. Now I'm pissed.
Yeah, and I think the loan to value is something like in the 30% range. So I mean, we're probably not going to see a 50% drawdown anytime soon. But if you did see something like that, you'd be basically on the hook to deposit more Bitcoin to keep the loan in good standing and not get liquidated. The
Yeah.
whole thing is just insane to me. Like I don't know
Well-
why anybody would want to inject all of those layers of risk, and especially with the tax obligations mixed in there, it's just seems absurd.
Well, it's a way to
TC
it's a way to buy Bitcoin on margin, right? Like that's kind of a creative margin play for Coinbase, but it's not a tax efficient loan strategy.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't see the advantage to the Bitcoin owner going into that scenario.
No, it's to buy Bitcoin on margin, right? You can buy more Bitcoin than you would if you would just use your cash.
Didn't Caitlin Long propose an entire solution to all of this in her plan she submitted to the Fed?
That I'm not sure about. I was going to throw it down because, yeah, Joe's here. But hey, wanted to say hi to Bob real quick. I know he'd been waiting around patiently. Bob and Joe, how's it going? Start with Bob, man. I'm sure he's an accountant, I think. What's going on, man?
So I was just going to comment earlier on the SAB 121. There are reports or rumors, at least, that Trump is going to somehow repeal that, whether it's through Congress, an executive order, or I think it's just pretty simple. If he has the new head of the SEC that he is appointing, he can probably just get them to review this rule and change it. So curious if Joe has any comments on it.
Yeah, I mean that's you have it right there. The new SEC, a new staff bulletin can be issued immediately. So we'll see. Might come right away as soon as Atkins is sworn in.
So that does open it up for banks. I think be interesting to see kind of maybe a blend of what Darkside was talking about with having like a tri-party agreement where you don't have to trust, just one entity, like one financial institution to, not rehypothecate your Bitcoin. If they're willing to construct a loan product like that because they can now custody Bitcoin, be an interesting product maybe for some people, especially if you're not using wrapped Bitcoin like the Coinbase product.
Sorry,
Does
fellas.
Coinbase have their own wrapped Bitcoin product?
No, it was just what you were talking about, that there's this conversion process, right? That you'd have to move Bitcoin to Coinbase and then they're going to convert it, which creates a taxable event. That's not very appetizing for really anybody. So to be able to actually just have a bank hold Bitcoin and then borrow against it might be, there might be a bigger market from Bitcoiners for that.
What did I miss? Sorry, I was jogging, trying to follow in the footsteps of Joe and to try to stay in
What temperature
shape,
is it
so.
over there in the great state of California?
Let me check.
About 60 degrees outside where I'm at.
Oh, not bad. It's like, what is it, Joe, here? Like 18? Oh, it's 37 today. Woo!
Yeah,
I'm
well,
wearing my
60
short
here.
out.
We must be close. Dog Set is up here. Joe made it on stage. Bob, wow, a lot of new faces. TC, how are you, sir? Dog Set has his
Howdy.
hand up. What's up, dog?
Yeah, hey guys, how you doing? Hey, have you guys been reading this news about Trump considering XRP and Solana as part of the strategic reserve? Is that true, or is that just fake news, as they say?
I think Trump may be a shitcoiner.
That's fake news. It's bullshit. He's not going to buy that crap. David
Sure.
Bailey said so. And he's the gold
It's kind of,
standard for truth, right?
it might be that he's like, saying things like this just because maybe all the other countries around the world are like taking notice. And if he's going to kind of divert attention and just stack Bitcoin, he might as well just say he's going to buy this other shit coinery. Meanwhile, when in reality, he's just going to gobble up a bunch of Bitcoin. I don't know. That's just maybe my own little strategy thinking.
Did this come from Trump's mouth, or is this just? I think it's
It's
just a rumor,
hearsay.
right? It's
It's
almost
just
just Sam.
hearsay.
Yeah.
It's nonsense. I could maybe see him buying ETH for whatever reason, how stupid it is, but he's not going to buy Cardano. Come on, man.
I don't know. What's that Brad guy who's hanging out with them all the time? I don't hold my breath that anything is going to be Bitcoin only
Yeah,
when it comes
I
to this
agree.
administration. I think it's all crypto to them.
I definitely agree with TC on that one. I think we talked about this on a previous space, is politicians do say whatever to get elected, and oftentimes they follow, or they fail to follow through on their election promises. So
What about all those pictures of Michael Saylor at Mar-Lago hanging out with Eric Trump and co? You don't think he could educate them on the truth?
No, this is what I was talking about earlier. Put your blinders on, take some cotton swabs, put them. Don't listen to anything that you see out there and read. Okay,
Well, I
don't
agree with
look.
that.
Find look. They're going to come and they're going to go. These governments, these politicians. Bitcoin is here. All right, get back in your circle. Just get back in your circle. And this is what, if you've ever been to like a SEER school, survival, escape, resistance, and evasion, your circle is, what are the basics? The basics are, name, serial number. That's it. Get back to there. Because once you go down this road of this, you're outside your circle. Then you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Stay in your circle. You know what your circle is? Bitcoin, unconfiscatable, decentralized, digital, scarcity. Remember those 4 words? That's your circle. It doesn't matter what they say, okay? Because they'll probably go back on it. You don't know what any kind of time frame they have. Like I said earlier, China, we're banning mining. Oh, mining's good, and we're banning it. Guys, stop! It doesn't matter. You can look, conjecture all you want on this, man. Think about it all you want. Ruminate on it all you want. At the end of the day, that's just it. It's just talk. Okay, so you can talk and do all this. The first thing you should do, what are my Bitcoin goals? What are my stacking goals for me and my family? Just stick to those. Stick to those and come in spaces, and yeah, you can have fun. We can, we'll talk about this all day long. I have no clue. I have no answer, but I don't let anything that Sailor does, I don't let anything the government says uh, shape the way I accumulate and store my Bitcoin. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
good point. That was a great TED Talk, Puppy. While you're nursing your Guinness, that's always nice. Welcome to the stage, another litigator. Brian, how are you today, sir?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. I did when y'all were talking about the buying, I don't know, XRP or Cardano or something like that for the strategic Bitcoin reserve. Just I wanted to point out that report was, within that report was also, they said that that President Trump was planning on using USDC as well in this strategic reserve of sorts, but it does not. Maybe someone on here smarter than me can tell me, but it doesn't make a great deal of sense to have a strategic reserve of something that's the equivalent of a dollar, which you can just create out of thin air. I don't understand why the U.S. government would need to put USDC in a strategic reserve when it prints its own money. There's no shortage of access to it. So that whole report to me is compromised by that very mention there.
Yeah, it seems a little redundant when, like you said, they possess the keys to the US dollar. Allow myself to introduce myself. Yeah, it doesn't make sense for sure.
Nice Austin Powers reference there. Well done, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm here all day. Try the Guinness. Joe is probably litigating as we speak and listening in with one earbud. Joe, I don't know if you cut in on any of the planning, but we're still trying to do a poker game in Vegas. So we had a little brainstorming session last night just on a space. We really just want to get a space, not a fictitious space, an actual physical space that'll hold a couple tables. Maybe I'm in favor of just a cash game. I know some people are talking about a tourney, but I think a cash game would be a lot more fun. And you can just buy in when you want, cash out when you want, etc. And then we can also have people, room for people that don't want to play poker to just hang out. People that want to have a cocktail can have a drink. So it's kind of what we're shooting for.
Yeah,
Asteroid, you want to say something? Or
it should be fun. I'm on a train. I can't really talk, but
oh, okay.
I'm looking into this Coinbase thing. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not sure you're correct that it is a taxable event. So look at that more closely. I'm because they're giving you USDC. They're giving they're converting on the back end of this in this smart contract, which is interesting. But give me a minute because I'm just looking at it a little bit closer.
Joe, what about the news that we were hearing about the potential pile of crap coins and even USDC in a reserve asset for the U.S. government? That sounds a little bit like hearsay as well.
David Bailey said it's fake, so I trust David.
Yeah, I always trust David Bailey for all your news. Hey, did you ever? Is that why all those shit coins pumped this morning? Because of this dumb news? Did you notice that the XRP market cap's $200 billion and Ethereum's $400 billion? Wouldn't it be hilarious if XRP flips Ethereum? Oh my god! It's just this nonsensical world we live in.
Yeah, that is something that I've noticed as well, and I do think that would be kind of the funniest outcome. But not only that, XRP is kind of within striking distance. I was looking at it, and I think Solana and BNB are also within closer striking distance of flipping Ethereum than Ethereum is to Bitcoin.
If Ethereum stays flat, these coins could easily do a 2 or 3x. They'll literally flip Ethereum. I kind of would like that. I feel like I hate Ethereum almost more than these coins that are probably even more dog shit for whatever reason. Mainly because Ethereum is, I don't know. Like when they did this whole this ultrasound money thing, I was like, God, it's just a fucking scam, Like if they would have just stayed in their lane and said we're a smart contract platform, I'd have been like, fine. But the fact that they just had this obsession with flipping Bitcoin instead of their so-called functionality, it's just a dirtbag operation.
That was it when I remember I came in here, I had no clue. Coinbase had 4 coins listed. You're coming out of the block size wars, and you had Bitcoin,
I remember that.
Bitcoin Cash,
Bitcoin,
Ethereum, and Litecoin. Those are only 4 coins that you had at the time on Coinbase. That. And I'm laughing because I'm coming in. I'm hearing terms I've never heard before. Right? Bitcoin can't scale. You need Bitcoin Cash. I didn't know what that meant. Ethereum is the world computer, and it has smart contracts. To this day, I still don't know what the hell a smart contract is. World computer, and like you say, they do a pivot now. It's sound money, ultrasound money. Litecoin. Gotta give it to
Pubby.
Yeah, go ahead.
You want to know what's crazy? XRP has a bigger market cap than BlackRock currently.
Yeah, I don't get it. Okay, I just don't understand it. If people want to go down that road, I mean, God bless them. And we'll see, man. We'll see.
Pubby, with a tinfoil hat in me makes me think that this was all just propagated by, external forces. Like, not to say people were like any of the individuals who have participated in it were, you know, pumping these things or putting out these ideas, but you could see where they could get launched from certain folks
Dude,
that didn't want Bitcoin to happen.
that's all XRP is. It's just they just fund all these propaganda people on TikTok and stuff. That's how they keep this pump going. If you watch it, they're just clearly paid. It's just one big propaganda thing about how it's going to be the next settlement layer for remittances and all this stuff. It's the one. It's all a scam, and they do fund it. I don't care what they say. They're fucking liars.
And this is part of the reason we're here so long, you know, doing these. Well, one, we love each other, of course, as Bitcoiners, but two is just to explain to people the difference. All right, you get nothing else out of any type of these spaces. It's the difference between Bitcoin's value proposition and everything else. What if you can take that away? You've learned a lot. Now the choice is on you on what you want to do with that information once you get it. When you find out what is centralized, right? What is controlled? What can be rolled back? Yep, that's right. Ethereum can you can roll back stuff. You got figureheads that are centralized, which defeats the entire purpose of what the ethos of Bitcoin is. So if you take nothing else away, just do your due diligence on what separates Bitcoin from everything else. I know it's harder now. It was easier back in the day. You only had a few coins there on Coinbase, for example. Now you got thousands you got to sift through and ask yourself, what is the value proposition of what I am buying?
Yeah, when I think about this, I've been in crypto or Bitcoin for, for 4 years now, but it's
Good
almost
save.
as if
Good save.
like, well, I was just gonna say that, it's almost as if like you have to get your ass kicked and lose money doing shit coinery for you to respect Bitcoin. Because it almost seems like, yes, we do want pro innovation, we do want pro Bitcoin legislation in the US. But when you see these like VC starting to come out and crypto and Mark Andreessen doesn't say Bitcoin, he just says crypto, it's kind of like, man, all this grifting is going to continue.
That
And it's
guy's a
not until
fucking
people get their
grifter.
ass kicked.
That guy's a
Huh?
total grifter. I do not like him. I don't know why people think it's like, oh, he's a great interview. He's a total grifter. He can't even mention Bitcoin because he wants you to buy he wants you to offload. He wants to offload his bags on you and his useless crap coins. I don't know. I don't like that guy.
Yeah, it's kind of like what I think Thomas said the other day about all these innovations that are going to come through the TradFi rails for Bitcoin. And it was like, I think he had like 50 something ideas in there. And I'm thinking, wow, this seems pretty innovative. And then Thomas replied, like, yeah, so they can get you out of your Bitcoin. And it kind of seems like it's what's going to happen. They're going to create all these products and people are going to start, maybe doing some minor leveraging. But one of the biggest fears that I think, at least for me, that I have with all this, like even small points of leverage, is that we're human, man, and we get greedy. So it starts accelerating and it starts running. You're like, well, I only put in 1%. Why don't I just put 5 or 10%? And then like your stack keeps going up because you're making more money, and then the whole thing explodes. And I fear that we could probably be facing that with everyone trying to just get what they can. I mean, have you guys thought about that at all? Maybe what like real worst case scenario can look like with all this TradFi adoption?
I think you touched on a couple things
Okay.
there. I would just say TradFi
Yeah. Hey,
adoption.
I just wanted to.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Lauren. Is that you go?
Yeah. No, sorry. I was just totally joking when I was giving him a bad time about saying crypto. I agree with him also that it was part of our journeys for many of us. Probably even the larger percent from what I understand or from what I'm getting. I remember Pubby, like you mentioned, when you could also buy Litecoin and ETH on Coinbase, and that was it. So yeah, good times. Anyway, sorry, dog. I wasn't, you know, disrespecting you at all. I just was joking around because I also did that whole, altcoin thing in my journey. So go ahead, Bob.
Oh no! Look, that's where we all
Did,
started.
Bob, did you ever own
Because
altcoins? I never heard you talk about that. Bob,
oh,
I
I'm
think
sorry. I
my
thought you were
mic's
talking to
open.
Lauren. Oh yeah,
I was
dude.
talking to you. Have you ever owned any altcoins?
Oh
I've
yeah,
discussed
yeah,
that. I
yeah.
used to.
No,
Oh, you have. Okay.
so yeah. The quick background is a friend of mine, one of the smartest individual I know in mathematics, everything else. it's 2017, and we DM and keep in touch. And she had said, "Hey, have you seen what Bitcoin's doing?" And like Bitcoin, I and this is honestly all right. But I thought it was like I say, just the magic internet money. That was me. I had a couple touch points with it. I was like, "Oh yeah, you mean where you can play Dungeons and Dragons and buy a cloak of invisibility, that kind of internet money?" And she's like, basically, no, you dumbass. Do some research. And she and because she and her boyfriend, now husband, had gone out with another couple friend in 2013, and they had told him about Bitcoin. And her boyfriend at the time said, "No, it's a Ponzi scheme. We're not doing it." Well, guess what? Their couple friend went all in 2013 and have been retired for many, many years now. So I'm like, okay, but let me do a little research because she's pretty solid on this. And she goes, yeah, and there's a couple other things out there I'm not sure about yet. There's one like called Bitcoin Cash or all this other stuff. So yeah, basically, I without really knowing everything, I signed up on Coinbase. I said, I'm going to jump in with $1,000. So I spent $250 on each, 250 on Bitcoin, 250 Bitcoin Cash, 250 on Ethereum, and 250 on Litecoin, because Charlie Lee had that narrative down. It's the silver to Bitcoin gold. So yeah, when I jumped in, yeah, I had no clue what I was doing.
I bought it too.
I didn't know about
It
the
seemed
halving.
reasonable at the time.
Yeah, I didn't know what the halving represented. The hard cap I sort of got. My favorite part was the unconfiscatable portion of it, that you could just, wow, if I can hold these 12 words, I got four. No, that was it. But by the time I started doing research and got onto Bitcoin Twitter, and you meet guys like Hodl and American Hodl and all this, and they're like, dude, sell that shit. To sell all that shit and buy Bitcoin. And I did. So yeah, I started in December. By February, though, I was out of. I don't even know if you can call it shitcoining, because I had no idea what they represented at the time. I just jumped in to buy a little bit of everything. But yeah, I learned within 2 months that I just said to myself, if all these other ones go away, Bitcoin's going to be here. If Bitcoin goes away, everything goes away. And that's what I jumped in, and I've never looked back after 2 months of quote unquote shitcoining.
Yeah, I bought into that whole Litecoin is silver narrative too for a while and had a good amount. And then after some time, I realized like it's a digital currency. Like, how does it make any sense? But I actually still hold Ethereum, but I've been finally selling it off.
How brilliant!
This year.
How brilliant was Charlie Lee though? Because he says, you know what? Yeah, it's probably not good that I'm a figurehead for this. I should probably drop out, just like Satoshi Nakamoto dropped out. And I'm here thinking, yeah, wait a second. If
he sold, I forgot about that,
dude. And I'm saying to myself, wait a second. The whole point of Bitcoin, the whole value proposition is a 21 million hard cap. Why do we need 84 million Litecoin after that? It's like a light bulb, but I'm like, oh man, we got screwed. Just so you guys know, Litecoin's at like $100. Charlie Lee dumped his bags at $372. So yeah.
Yeah, you realize his great marketing job is how he found his exit liquidity. So I mean, bravo to him. But yeah, it really goes to show you that all of these altcoins are either, people say they're great tech, but really it's all just a bunch of marketing.
Well, that's just it. And we're here, and that's why, Lauren runs these spaces. Everyone that runs these spaces over the years. Like, I don't get paid for this stuff, but if I can save one noob, one person from making any mistake I made, that's worth it to me, man. I love Bitcoin. I love helping people. And this is what we do. And if I can help somebody, that's why we're here, man. At the end of the day, why I am. That's why I'm here. Yeah, I have nothing to shill. Buy Bitcoin self custody is pretty much, we get the 1 minute elevator pitch out of the way, and the rest of the time we're just hanging out on spaces and hanging out, talking to each other. That's it.
And we're meeting in Vegas. So, Hubs, you gonna be there in May?
Vegas in May. Let me look at my schedule. How long is it there for?
Litecoin has literally been flat for like 10 years. Or like almost like 8 years. It's been almost like flat.
Wait,
What a piece of shit.
which one? Oh, Litecoin.
Litecoin.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing too. People, look, if again, Bitcoin first. Once if you understand the difference between Bitcoin and crypto, you're halfway home. Well, hell, you're 90% of the way home. But if anything, you're looking at, yeah, look at its price not only in dollar terms, but you pull up the charts where you see the price as compared to the value versus Bitcoin over those years, and it get absolutely destroyed. Bitcoin Cash, BSV, both down like over 95% in real terms against Bitcoin. This is what you. This is why we're here, man. If you can save one person that can go out there and say, "Wait, why am I buying this stuff that is just constantly losing for me?" Now you know.
Well, I think the real issue is that most people coming into it are thinking about how to get more dollars, not more Bitcoin. So to a lot of people, that argument doesn't, hold for them, and they got to make the mistake like we talked about earlier.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and that's what like. Are you here for the right reasons? Look, I came for number go up. Then I realized you do research and you realize, wow, this is so different. This is value. This is my life value that I can store outside of the system. Once you hit that point, man, your eyes just get opened up. But yeah, I got no. If you want to come for number go up, that's fine. Just be prepared for the repercussions.
Did anybody else see that
Hey,
lawsuit? That lawsuit on it was Tether is suing someone. I thought I saw.
No.
there's
Who?
a, I think they're involved in a couple
Um,
lawsuits, but I don't want to name
oh,
any
is it
names.
the mining? Is it the mining lawsuit with Swan?
One.
Oh
Oh,
yeah, it was. That's what I saw. Swan. Yep.
yeah. I don't know what the story with that is, but there's always a little bit of controversy with Swan with everything they do. If you haven't noticed, I don't know.
Hey, throw your hands up. I think I saw Nikolai um, come off mute, so I'm assuming you want to say something. If you're having a hard time getting a word in edgewise, just throw your hand up and we'll work you into the convo here. Feel free to take the conversation a different direction,
Yeah.
unless your
Hey,
name's Al.
thanks.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Lon. I did. I
Yeah.
thought there was a gap there. You know, I see Puncher down listening, and I happen just coincidentally to be driving through the southwestern part of the U.S. and Puncher talked about the moment that Ross, who I believe is incarcerated in Arizona, where Puncher is sometimes domiciled, and I would love to show up at the prison and watch that man walk free. And I never have heard anything else, talked about or
Let's go, man.
organized.
Let's do
That's a
it.
great idea. That's a wonderful idea.
Does
But
anybody
is it
know
is it
or have?
by is it by where? What city is it in? Max, Max, Nicole. Sorry, or whatever.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I only posit the idea, and I know nothing else. And that's why I was suggesting maybe we pull Puncher up on stage and see if we could do something.
Puncher, can we pull you up here? Or are you in a place where you can take the mic?
He's in a Fun Time Bagel shop right now, putting some cream cheese on everything. So
Fun Time Bagel Shop, everybody. Puppy didn't finish his question either about making it to Vegas, because I know Nicola is going to be there. Look forward to seeing you there, good sir. Dog lives there, so we'll see him. Joe's going to be there. Puppy, hopefully you can make it. Of course, Asteroid's going to be there renting a Tesla Cybertruck.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna rent it.
send me the
I'll
dates.
rent it on Monday.
Send
I'm
me
gonna
the
rent it
dates.
on Monday.
May 25th probably is probably the date we'll have the event.
So just a 1 day. So be there for what, 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, I'm probably going to come in on the 24th and leave 27th or so. I don't really have much interest in attending the other conference, but hey, we got Puncher up here too, so maybe he can talk a little bit more if he knows more info regarding which prison, etc. Hey, Puncher.
Hey guys, I don't know exactly which prison, but I'm sure you could just Google it and find it. It is in Tucson, Arizona, which is about a 2-hour ride from where I am. And I had mentioned that, gosh, months ago. The difficulty, obviously, is you got to bet on the come. You really don't know if Trump's going to do it day one or if it's going to be. I mean, I think he is, but I think that's a reasonably safe bet. But then, how long would it take to process them out? Getting those details are unknowable now. I'm sure there are some folks on these spaces who know his family and maybe could make a connection there. I think it would be a great idea to just drive down there. I'd drop everything and drive down there, and I'm sure we could get a bunch of people to go down there and welcome them back to.
Hey, I haven't followed the case as closely as some people, but I just posted something in the Nest where it looks like Ross is asking people to not come. If that's the case, I think it would be more important to respect somebody's wishes like that. But
Oh yeah, of course.
definitely want, I would definitely want, to see. I'm not saying, that the source is full of it, but I would definitely want to see a link to where he actually stated it or something just to confirm, because that would be
Where
horrible if
did
a
you
bunch
see
of people
that?
showed up. I posted something in the Nest right there, but I was asking for just validation and clarification and a link maybe to where it was stated or whatever, just so we get concrete information.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it'd be nice to.
why don't we just put the word out that if anybody knows him or if anybody on these spaces knows anybody who knows them, knows Ross, reach out and get the real skinny, and of course we'll respect his wishes.
So I
This
Viking
guy looks
Eagle.
like a.
yeah, I
This
I
guy looks like
forgot who
this.
it was, but it's a Bitcoiner that knows Ross's family intimately, and he has posted that Ross does not want anyone to go out there. I think it was Mandrick. I think it was Mandrick, but I'm not
Could
sure
be.
about that.
I
Um,
met his mom at a Bitcoin conference. She was down there. Lynn Ulbricht was there. I don't even know if she has a Twitter account, to be honest with you. But if anyone knows her, yeah, like you say, you want to respect the wishes of the family for sure.
I'm pretty sure it was
Yeah, I
Mandrick
just
who said it. I'm not sure though.
I respect Mandrick, man.
Uh,
Yep, absolutely.
You like his baklava?
yeah, 100. Yeah, just 100%. Like, imagine how emotional that would be for the family, and I can see where they would want it to be a private moment.
Yeah, I was down
That's
at the
still a good
Bitcoin
idea.
conference.
Still a great idea. Sorry.
The Bitcoin conference down in El Salvador. Gosh, I don't know, in November, I think. I met a bunch of guys who worked with Ross and had somehow escaped incarceration, and they were telling some crazy stories. But yeah, well, if it's confirmed that he doesn't want anything, then nothing it shall be.
I think the symbolism of that coming true, him being released, will be very, very good for anybody who has bags.
I would also add,
Oh yeah, we're gonna have a 10K candle as he walks out.
yeah, and this is the thing, I know Trump learned his lessons over the year. In 2016, he knew there was a swamp. He didn't know how deep it was, and he didn't realize it was also his own party involved there. This is a low hanging fruit. Okay, this isn't where he needs congressional support. This is, look, you get in there first day, and this is something that you promised. Guess what, brother? And I'm a big Trump guy. You get your ass out there the first day. You release Ross, man, because this is something you can do. There's no one holding you back from doing it. You get out there, you sign that executive order, whatever it's going to be. But yeah, you get him the hell out of prison, man.
Yeah, I concur. Maybe we'll wrap this up in about 15, 20.
Yeah, I gotta
So
head out in like 10 minutes. Anyways,
yeah, I know. I
so
find myself
hey,
spending it.
we should
Yeah,
can
shoot.
we have a Zoom call about this stuff? Cause about the thing. I have
Oh,
some stuff. I think we need
the
to
party
discuss some stuff
you're talking about
in private.
the Vegas get together.
Oh yeah,
Okay, yeah, for sure.
like
Because
next week.
yeah, one of the things I was talking about with
The
Omar
problem is
is
you only have the 30-minute Zoom, so it ends up canceling. But we can just hop back on. Doesn't matter.
no, I have a Zoom subscription, so we'll be
You
fine.
do? When we were on it last week, it said like, "Oh, you please subscribe" or whatever. Remember to like kick us all off.
I have a I have different ones, so I accidentally signed on to the wrong one. So
Oh,
I have
okay, okay.
an on. I have real name, business, blah blah blah. So yeah, that was me screwing up, didn't not realizing it. I thought I was on a different one. But anyway,
Okay,
yeah,
got
that's a
it.
good idea because I was talking to Omar and he said it almost seems like we're doing things a little backwards because oftentimes you start with the number of participants first and then work from there. We're actually starting with the space and then trying to figure out how many people are going. So I think we
Planning
still have a
stuff is
little,
hard, man.
yeah,
Planning is
especially when
hard.
you never do it. So
I don't.
yeah,
Yeah, if it's
absolutely.
fucking. Yeah, I think that's better. We should limit it too, but we can discuss this on the Zoom call.
Yeah, for sure. And if people are interested, just shoot any of us a DM that are in the planning parts of it because this isn't like my estimation is it's not about a label, an organization, anything else other than just a bunch of Bitcoin plebs. So that's the qualifier right now. And if we do hit a cap, we'll probably just cap it at like first come, first serve rather than like you have to meet this criteria and be this wealthy and pay half a Bitcoin or whatever. It'll probably be just like, sorry guys, we can only hold 150 people and we hit max capacity. So we'll
You do
definitely
have to
have
at
a
least
list.
have 1,000 Bitcoin though, so only Chuck
Yeah,
Jones
for
can
sure.
come.
Chuck Jones. I think it is a good idea to have some sort of list, like you said, but since whoever's idea it is responsible for that portion of it. So I
I can
think it
bet
was
it, but
your
I think we
idea.
need a cap too. Like, it's just it'll be easier if we have a set cap, but not restrictive and not expensive and not elitist in any way. Just to make it manageable, right? You need some sort of planning metric.
All I'm saying,
For sure. And we still have, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, all I'm saying is, look, you guys are going to want to send me the plane ticket and pay for my hotel because you're going to get that much money more back from me if I play poker. Never been a
Hey,
poker
come
guy.
on, man!
I will
You're
be.
made of
Why
money,
you're
Bob.
here.
You'll make it back.
You're made of money. You're made of money.
No, I prefer blackjack. 21 is more my style.
Guinness,
But
the
yeah,
Guinness is on us.
who knows? Maybe I'll get, like I said yesterday, I'm going to throw people off their game. You know, you throw people off their game when you don't know what the hell you're doing, and they don't know that you don't know what the hell you're doing. Yeah, that makes for some good betting. I'll be all in every hand.
Puppy sounds like a ringer. So just we're just in the initial planning stages, so we're still throwing ideas out there. So hopefully we'll get, I mean, we got a lot of time still, so we're not super worried about it. But Puncher's doing a great job. He's seems like somebody who's executed a mission or two in his day, so he's a good point man. He's already allocated certain things to Asteroid, which are unmentionable, that are actually a joke and not happening, but it's still funny to talk about. We're looking at different venues, different activities. So sounds like we're only planning one thing, but there'll be little side things that we can, just meet up and be like, hey, do you want to go to blah 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 for dinner or whatever? All that stuff is fun to me. So
Why,
just like
why,
hanging out with you guys.
why do I have visions of the Hangover running through my head right now? Vegas, baby,
It's kind of weird.
Vegas. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I've had some hangover-esque times in Vegas that I tell my closest friends and whatnot, but it's like crazy stories. But yeah, no, I've had some enjoyable moments there and some sketchy moments. But hanging out with you guys will be the highlight for sure. I'm not going to end up on a roof again at 3 o'clock in the morning, which actually was part of one of my Vegas stories. So yeah,
I, I've been
with strangers.
I've been to Thailand, so the one line
Oh yeah,
where Bangkok has him now, I understand. I understand that line. It resonates with me.
yeah,
Bangkok has him
yeah,
now. Um, this it's going to be a combination, The Hangover and a great '80s film, Bachelor Party with Tom Hanks. I have a feeling this is where it could end up.
for sure. Is there any other breaking news or anything pressing that we want to talk about before we wind this thing down?
I think Bitcoin just crossed back over 100. There you go.
Nice. I wonder what our little dip thing was this morning. It wasn't very
Hey,
big, was it?
Lauren,
I try not to focus on price too much. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question for the panel here. I've been trying to kind of get an idea, because I haven't been in Wall Street, like for example, Dark Side for a big majority of his career. But fast forwarding like I don't know a couple of years, and we have MicroStrategy with his Bitcoin Treasury company and a few others. Let's say just follow suit. What is that like? What are the products that I don't know are going to be made, or what is? I mean, okay, so you own 500,000 Bitcoin in your treasury. Okay, so now what? Like, how does that help society? How does that help, people like us that own Bitcoin? Because I mean, even though I'm a Bitcoiner, I mean, I still can't think of any like I don't know creative ideas as to how it would stimulate the economy, help the overall sector. Any thoughts there?
I'll take a swing at it. I
Uh,
mean,
there's a
yeah,
so yeah. Go ahead, Dark.
I was gonna say this is Dark Sides. This is Dark
There's
Sides. Ballard.
there's so many unimaginable things too that we can't even fathom. I would say as well, in my
Dark,
opinion.
yeah,
Dark, are you gonna finish your? Sorry, go
yeah.
ahead.
I would just suggest that owning a large amount of the most world's most perfect collateral will have an immense value, right? So if you're asking me what's the actual business model, it could be something as simple as, fully reserved banking. It could be something far more imaginary where he's using that collateral to borrow fiat and loan it. Look, if you own the stack of the world's largest and best collateral, then you are the world's largest and best bank. So I'll just leave it at that. But you have to use your imagination as to what that business model is, right? I think in the years coming up, we're going to be looking at a very, very different economic system. So it's hard to imagine today what that looks like, but I will suggest to you that there will be significant a
You like to
significant
speak?
multiple
Oh,
afforded.
Dark, you must be getting a call or something. You
Yeah,
haven't.
I got a call. I kicked it. I just
Gotcha.
want to let me just land the plane by saying I think there will be a significant multiple in fiat terms, whatever that fiat is, years in the future, to a significant multiple afforded.
God
They really want to get a hold
damn
of
it,
you.
dark side.
Yeah.
Some.
You and Pubby love to land the plane. So
Oh,
no, good stuff.
all right.
You bet.
Look at
Hey,
moving forward. What we're talking about here. There. Look.
Pubby,
Maybe. Okay. Look.
speaking of landing the plane,
Sorry about
Pubby,
that.
let's
No rug. No
no,
rug
hey,
yet.
yeah, let's start rugging. Let's start winding her down and land the entire plane. As far as maybe we just each give some parting words and say adios. Pubby, you want to start and just go you,
Yeah.
then
Just.
Dark.
Just. To sort of answer the question there. Um, Aside from holding it, moving forward, there's going to be products out there. Folks that have been hodling for years. At some point, you want to see some returns. So here's what you have. What can you do? You can lend your Bitcoin, right? You can lend it out. You can take a loan against it, or you can sell it. Now, number three, obviously, no one wants to do. So there's going to be products where you lend it out, or you take a loan against it, and we'll see what happens. Because as they were saying earlier, it's the most pristine asset in the world. Why in the hell do I want to get rid of it? What I think you're going to find is it is going to be so valuable. You're going to have a new renaissance. The most quality products in life will be because you would have to give up your Bitcoin to get it done, to have this perfect house built, to have things done. Yeah, guess what? They will take Bitcoin over everything else. So yeah, that's it, man. Lend it if you want, take a loan against it if you want. Just do not sell it. Just hang in there.
And yeah, another weird
Yeah.
thing to think about is if eventually Bitcoin becomes super ubiquitous in payments, he could have like a whole huge operation that hosts all sorts of like weird channels or some kind of new network that collects fees too. So
Someone tell the homeless guy we're wrapping this up.
there's endless
Oh,
possibilities.
sorry, Asteroid, are you listening? No. Hey, Pubs, that's great. We'll use a couple of your euphemisms. Great TED Talk and way to land the plane. Dark side, parting words. None. We'll go to
Sorry,
Puncher.
I'm
Oh no,
just in
you're
the middle of
the
I'm in
phone
the middle
call.
of construction zone, but I would just
Oh, okay.
I'd land the plane on buy Bitcoin, hold it in self custody.
Yes.
If you hold it 4 years, you're gonna make a shit ton of money.
What
Create
is
a
money?
create a shit ton of wealth, I should say.
Thank you. Yeah, that sounds way better. Puncher, sir, I don't know if you're in a place where you can actually take the mic
He,
and say a few words or not.
he's connecting.
Okay. Dark, I think, has a hot mic still. Asteroid, now's your chance. Say goodbye.
All
Parting
right.
words.
I'll see y'all later.
Yes,
Have
sir.
fun.
Figure out when you want to do the Zoom, and we'll try to pencil that in.
I don't know if tomorrow works or maybe next week. Maybe tomorrow. I don't know.
Okay.
I think I'm pretty
Yeah,
open. Fridays is usually pretty
got a bit of
quiet.
legwork to do on a couple of
So,
venues that I was eyeballing.
so it'll be you, me, Dark, Puncher, and who else?
I think at least one of our Canadian comrades can make it
Okay.
down too, so we could squeeze them in.
Okay.
And really, anybody else. I mean, we can have a lot of people on the call. It's just we got to start honing in our ideas and not just throwing so many ideas out there. So sometimes less is more, but sometimes it's good to have, other opinions too. So anyway, that's it for him. I don't think we got Puncher back up here, but no, I think I'll just echo what Dark said in that, throughout this whole conversation, we touched on so many things, including the economy and what ifs and hypotheticals and theories and all this other stuff, which is fun to talk about, but we don't know. But the one thing I think Justin, while he was still here, said something about it. It's just like everything is just screaming to me, buy and hold Bitcoin. So that's kind of the resounding thing that I'm hearing from all of this stuff, regardless. So just buy and hold Bitcoin, and then until next time, adios,
Bye,
everybody.
bye, bye.
Ciao,
See you
bella.
later.
See you,
Ciao,
Lauren.
bella. We need a
See you
closing song,
guys.
right?
Great
Hubs like you
space.
and
Thanks, Lauren.
Andy. Yeah, thank you. Take care, everybody.
Second beer ordered.